The 16 car, which is Andrew Smith, another guy who's done quite a lot of regularity in and around Tasmania over a period of time. Ian Roberts, then the 77 machine of Scott Turnbull goes through the LJ Tirana. Blackman's Bay Motors support there. And you can have just as much fun in regularity as you can in anything else. Car number 21, Damien Brundle, the TC Cortina, the 1972 model TC Cortina. Looking very good indeed. Lou Bush in his Mazda goes through. Always been a good driver, a hard charger has Lou Bush. So it will be interesting to see what lap times that these drivers do nominate. At the end of this session, the monitor's telling me we're inside the last 4 minutes of this qualifying session. Let's feel how it goes by. The Viva, as run by Gary Stevens back in the day, and gee, I tell you what, that's done a lot of laps around Symmons Plains at Baskerville over the years. Didn't see it for a lot of years, and it came back, and now it is resident back in Tasmania again, which is great news. Michael Dawson owns that now. It runs a Holden 6, the 202 Holden 6 in that car. Tony Barnett doing very, very well in his Capri. Car number 93. It's a Westlake Mark 1 Capri. So very, very different to the Piranha Capri that Adam Garwood's driving. Chalk and cheese, really. Not even similar. They might look a similar shape. That'd be about it. See Payne go into the pits in his Commodore. There goes the 18 machine, and that is being driven by Damien Dransfield, the Charger. And he was putting together some pretty handy lap times before. A 64.13 is his quickest. It's not slow by any means. Scott Turnbull goes by in 77. Then 67 is Michael Schwarz, a Falcon GT. Graham Russell goes by again. Just did his fastest lap, a 61.2745. Lou Bush, Tony Barnett goes through again. See Rob Proctor, the HK Holden Kingswood comes into the pits. Don't see many of those racing these days. In fact, that's the only one that I know of, the only one I've seen in, well, probably forever. Not a car that was raced a lot, I don't think. The HK, except for the Monaro version. Car number 7 goes by. Peter Dill Motors from Victoria, Triumph 2500 TC. So it really does go to show, folks, that you don't have to have the fastest race car out there. Doesn't really matter what car you've got. It's all about enjoying yourself, racing your own abilities in your own car, and driving as consistently as you possibly can. No mistakes. And you got to take into account things like weather conditions, traffic, track conditions, all got to be taken into account when you nominate your lap time. So 1 minute showing on the monitor for this session now. Brought to us by Eastern Shore Physio. As I said this morning, a lot of these drivers don't do a lot of laps, so by the end of Sunday, 3 full days in the car, they may well want to visit a physio. Car number 91 goes by. Tony Sutcliffe in the Datsun 1600. Having a wonderful time out there at the moment. Leon Duggan out there in his Escort as well. Car number 29. There's Andrew Schmidt. The Datsun 1600 crosses the line now. There's Leon Duggan. And then the 77 car of Scott Turnbull. Damien Dransfield coming into the pits now. His session's over. Checkered flag's being prepared. And Dransfield, not that it matters, he did his fastest lap time on his final lap, a 64.09. He now has to make the decision on what lap time he wishes to nominate. Next time we see these guys and girls on track, they'll be against the clock and points on the line towards the weekend. Lou Bush now makes his way in, as does Michael Schwarz in his Falcon GT. It's an XR GT, 1967 model. Graham Russell in the Tirana, the yellow four-door LH Tirana, followed by Tony Barnett, the Westlake Capri, car number 93. He's the next one into the pits, the white car with the silver stripes. Tony Sutcliffe in the Datsun 1600, he also comes into the pits as a couple of cars, more cars, take the checkered flag. A lot of the field now making their way in. Next on the track will be qualifying session number 2, and that will be another regularity session for Mark Sports Cars and Invited. And that's brought to us by Noble Inc. But we've still got cars finishing this session. Nearly all past the checkered flag now, as we see Andrew Smith come into the pits in his Datsun 1600. Next one in will be the 21 TC Cortina of Damien Brundle. My memory serves me correctly, there was a gravel rally car in the Tasmanian Rally Series for some time. Looked very similar to that. And with things going a little bit quiet, it seems appropriate at this time that we welcome to the microphone royalty in the form of one Barry Oliver.
Good afternoon, Andrew, and good afternoon, everybody. What a magnificent day.
It is good, isn't it?
I drove down this morning from Launceston. I thought, looks like we're going to be lucky. Looks like we've got beautiful weather. And here I am now in shirt sleeves. So you've been doing a sterling job, I've got to say, Andrew. I got here in time to listen to you talking about Jason White in the T192 Lola.
How privileged are we to see all this stuff here?
Well, you're too young, but I can remember coming here for Formula 5000 cars.
Came here once, I think, from memory. 1980, I think they came here.
Right.
Proper Formula 5000s.
Well, we had a situation where we ran Formula 5000s at Simmons Plains.
Yes.
And then they came down here the following week. And that was back in 1980. And the reason I know that is because that's when I started doing commentary. So there you go. And
the outright lap record at Simmons is still held from that weekend by Alfie Costanzo.
Yes.
In the stock 84 Lola T440 or whatever it might have been.
430.
Close.
You were close. Yeah, very close.
Not bad for a young bloke.
Not bad at all. And what about that M8F?
Wow.
All 8.5 litres and 900 horsepower.
I was here yesterday, Baz. I thought, I've got to come down early. I can't stay in Launceston any longer. I've got to get down there and have a look. And I was talking to Jason White. Now you know Jason well. You've competed against him at Targa a number of times. And he's been quite blessed over the years to drive some really nice machines. Lamborghinis, Vipers, you name it. He's had a go at it. Spoke to him yesterday and I said, Jason, what's your thoughts? He said, Stridey, I think I've died and gone to heaven. He said, I don't know which one is better, which one I want. He said, it's just a dream come true to be offered the opportunity to drive some of this stuff. He said, it is just incredible. I'm trying to come to grips with it. I can't cope.
Yeah, and he did a marvellous job. The sound of that M8F is just extraordinary. Now, I suppose you've told people, but just in case, I might be repeating what you've already said. When they actually purchased that car, and I'm talking about Dutton's garage.
No, I haven't told them that.
When they purchased the car, originally that was a Team VDS car that ran in the European Inter-Series, which was the European equivalent of the Can-Am. And of course, in the Can-Am in 71 and 72, the late Denny Holm and the late Peter Revson ran the two works cars. This is a third car that was built by Trojan for Teddy Paulette to race. Now, when it raced back then in Europe, it had a 7.5 litre V8, but, hold on, it had twin turbochargers, and it developed 1,300 horsepower, and that's what was in it when Dutton's got the car, and they decided to put it back to 8.5, and Jason said it's only got 900.
Is that all?
Just 900, but I mean that was obvious when the car was out on the track. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But big thank you to Dutton's, Ben Henson and all the team. They've done a fantastic job to get these cars down here, and to George Nackis, who is the Dutton's man.
Yeah, he was due to drive a couple of the cars, but I don't think he's actually here this weekend. He's had business commitments have come up and he can't make it, I believe. That's the situation. Yeah, I know you're in a long line, Baz. You're in a very long line.
Oh, I put my hand up.
Yeah, trouble is I think there was about 500 people had their hand up prior to you.
For which one?
Oh, either or, any of the above. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So
so look, it's very special. And a question was asked of me earlier today, and I don't know the answer to the question. You might, Baz, because you've been around a little bit longer than me. The great John Harvey, who was here this weekend. Now, I actually remember him coming to Symmons Plains with the car. When he was in the early days when he was driving for Bob Jane, he drove a red sports car.
Yes, a McLaren M6B.
So was that the equivalent of the Can-Am? Was that a Can-Am car? No.
No, that actually had a 4.4 litre Repco engine. So it was a V8, but it wasn't your cast iron block head type engine that's in a Mustang.
It was very fast.
This was the genuine Phil Irving and I'm trying to think.
I have that trouble.
Yeah, Frank Hallam.
Yeah.
They designed it. It was basically an enlarged version of the engine that Sir Jack used to win his third World Championship in 1966. And that was a 3 litre. So this was a 4.4 Repco based on the Oldsmobile block.
Well, there you go. Those people that were asking me about it this morning, there's your answer from the great man himself. And that's why I called him Royalty, because he knows that stuff. That's what he does.
I also forget a lot of things too, Andrew.
like your name and when it's lunchtime and all that sort of
I
stuff.
had to remind myself coming down today where I was actually going. The car leading around at the moment that just came across the line first is a very interesting car, number 7. It's a Mazda RX-7 being driven by its builder, Andrew Morris. Now, it's actually been built up as a replica of the Mazda RX-7 Group B rally car. Now, those of you that follow the rally scene would know that Group B came and went very quickly because it was deemed far too dangerous, and we had some fatalities. Henry Toivonen and his navigator were killed.
And some big crashes, not necessarily fatalities, but lots of big crashes.
And so they banned Group B. They said it just got out of hand. And this car that's on the track at the moment, the blue and white car, so in appropriate Alan Moffat colours, if you like.
Yep, the Mazda RX-7. He's just about to come round to complete a lap as we speak.
And he's going to go past the Austin 7 CBS special of George Taylor. And there goes George. Doesn't it look fantastic? Car number 18, George Taylor in the Austin 7 CBS. So anyway, Andrew has built this car up. It's got the big wide guards, the wing on the back. It's quite different to your standard RX-7 of that particular vintage. Number 61 just coming back into the pit, so suggests they might have a problem. Not listed in our program.
Yeah, I think that was in the previous session, Baz.
Ah, okay.
It was Richard Sutcliffe, his Datsun 1200. Obviously been brought back in from an issue. Honey Pitt goes by in her Porsche 914, one of the ladies driving this weekend. Drives the car really well. Does a lot of navigating in tarmac rallies for her dad, Graham.
Yes.
But loves to drive this little Porsche. And to be fair, she does drive the car really, really well. She's managed to get off work early today. I guess that's one of the perks of being one of the bosses, I suppose.
Yeah.
Got away, and she's down here doing what she'd much rather do than going to work, I'd suggest.
Yes, she's very passionate, I've got to say. 96 just going through is John Frost in the Mazda MX-5. I've actually come down this weekend in my little Mazda MX-5, so
well,
I had a very pleasant trip down.
How'd you go?
Yes, it's been suggested on more than one occasion, Andrew.
Well, there's no reason why you can't. You don't have to have roll cages or anything like that. You just...
Yeah.
And you know your way around. You've done a couple of laps.
The odd lap. Another little interesting car out there is John Kerr, who's been a regular here, but on this occasion he's driving a 1958 Formula 3 car. It says aluminium body, but it's only 500cc. It's obviously got a motorcycle engine, and of course back in the early 50s when Sterling Moss started racing, well, Moss started in 49 I think, European Formula 3 was for cars similar to what John is driving at the moment. So that's actually an early version of a Formula 3 car in Europe. Now let's have a look at some times for you. Okay, Andrew Morris, who was first out onto the circuit in the Mazda RX-7, his best lap, I've got dark glasses on, is a 1:07. And Neil Johnson, no surprise, Neil Johnson in the black Porsche 944 is second fastest at the moment.
1:05.50.
Okay, and then we go back to Pike.
That's the little red Celica.
Yep, number 60. And 1974 Celica, 2 litre. And of course, as Andrew has been saying with the regularity, the thing is these guys have got to nominate the time that they will endeavour to match in the 4 regularity events that they get to contest.
4 or 5, doesn't matter, however many it is. And I think from memory it's 4 laps per time. Now it sounds quite a simple process. I'll nominate a 1:05 for picking a number, and I'll just drive around and I'll do 1:05s. That sounds quite simple. It's actually very difficult because you've got to take into account your own driving, whether you've made a little mistake, brake too early, brake too late, turned in at the wrong time, whatever. They've also then got to look at weather conditions, track conditions and traffic. So it's a lot more difficult than it would sound.
And we must stress that no timing arrangements are permitted in the vehicle whatsoever.
No, that's exactly right. You're not allowed to have anybody on the pit wall or anywhere on the track telling you to speed up or slow down or anything like that. I have heard of some novel ways that people find to put themselves in the right place on the track at the right time. I won't go into that too much, but it does it well. Actually, I will. It involves one particular driver who shall remain nameless. I'm not even sure he's here this weekend. Plays a particular song, and he knows that at each stage of the song where he needs to be on the track.
Good grief.
There you go. That's the length that some people will go to do well in this category. Now, we spoke about Honey Pitt a little while ago, Baz. She's now the 4th quickest driver out there. Didn't practice this morning. Only came in for qualifying a 1:08.74 in the little Porsche 914. Now, you've had a lot to do with Porsches. A 914 Porsche, quite a rare car. Not many of those about.
No, they're certainly not. And in fact, that particular make, there was the 914, which was a 4-cylinder version, and there was the 916, which was the 6-cylinder. But the thing that set them apart from the 911 is that they were actually the first mid-engine Porsche. Up to that point, all the Porsches, even today's 911, the 991 version, is a rear-engine car. So it's a beautifully balanced little car that Honey has got. That's the white car with the shiny wheels.
Here it comes now, just round past the Spectator Hill.
Going past the Austin 7. And Honey does a great job. She certainly does.
Ted Banks runs the 916
The
in
red
Targa,
one.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's obviously a bigger engine than this car.
Yep. I noticed though that Honey's car is showing 2.7. So that suggests to me that she might have actually got a 6-cylinder. Now, I could be wrong, but I noticed...
Well, I wouldn't have thought so.
Thank you, Andrew.
Wouldn't have thought so, Baz. So the 240 and the 260Z Datsuns, I mean, over the years in both circuit racing and, of course, gravel rally and that type of thing, they've been a weapon of choice of many drivers.
Absolutely. The 2.4 designating the cubic capacity of the engine, 2400cc. Then they upgraded to the 2600, which is 2.6. So that became the 260Z, or...
Then the 2.8.
Yeah, that's right, and we're up to 370Z now.
Here we are. And we saw just how good those 240Zs are at Targa with Johnny Siddons. He was absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, it's an old car. It's a 1970-ish model car. and he won a stage outright against the very best in the world.
Montjamana.
He won that outright, so he beat Jason White in the Viper, he beat Matt Close in the Porsche and everybody else, but consistently won the Classic by quite a long way. He was
absolutely
very fast.
His performance, quite frankly, for a lot of other people was embarrassingly good.
Well, when you see a car, they're not overly powerful, and they don't have massive big brakes and all the very best suspension or anything like that. For him to be competitive with, some of the latest cars available, i.e. Porsches and so on, was just an astounding drive. It really was.
We must admit, of course, that it's a pretty light car.
Well, it is, yes.
With good horsepower, nice soft compound tyres. Because it's light, he could afford to run a softer compound tyre, and there's no question that he is a bloody good driver.
Oh, yeah, he's certainly got that side of it nailed, hasn't he? And we've got
interesting little car coming around here at the moment, and that's car number 9, the Red Triumph, driven by Lance Hadaway. Now, in the program it says TR4 1962. I can tell you that I believe it's a TR3A. And the reason I say that is because it's got the horizontal grille rather than the oval grille that the earlier, and checkered flag is out, rather than the oval grille that the TR2 came out with. And the TR4 was a totally different shape. It was a much squarer shape. But good to see that TR3 out there. Now, what they will do with regularity to try and avoid too much overtaking, based on your qualifying time and the time you nominate, they will actually send the cars out progressively from the fastest car to the slowest car.
Yes.
So the idea behind that is to reduce the amount of overtaking, therefore reducing the amount of risk that somebody that may not be terribly experienced suddenly finds themselves being swamped.
Well, in theory, and theories are a wonderful thing, but in theory, if it's done that way, there shouldn't be any overtaking. There always is, but if you've got the fastest at the front and you work your way down, there shouldn't be any overtaking. As I say, there always is, and that's fine, but it minimises, as you say, Baz, it minimises the need to overtake, and merely having to overtake someone will have an effect on your lap time. Even if you do it safely and there's no drama, it will affect your lap time for that particular lap. So we don't want to impact on anyone's performance over the course of the weekend. That's one of the reasons that we do it that way. And obviously, as you said, Baz, the safety factor.
Yep.
They don't have, a lot of the cars don't have roll cages and they don't have all the latest and greatest safety equipment with the seats and the wraparound seats and all that type of thing and the Hans device and everything. They don't have all that. They don't have to have it. Some have it, but they don't have to have it. So it's all a matter of trying to keep them safe. And if you were to turn round, Baz, if you were to stand and turn, you're going to smile.
Oh my goodness.
How good does that look?
Well, I've got to tell you, Andrew, I've been involved with Ellis French.
Yep.
And John Routley and David Carey, who are all involved in this. We're talking about the Humpies, folks.
Yep.
48215s, affectionately known as the Humpy, and we've only got 25 of them coming out, and we'll try and work our way through it. But while I've got the opportunity, and I'll do it again on Saturday and Sunday, I want to say a very big thank you to Ellis French. Now, Ellis French is a dyed-in-the-wool, absolutely dead-set, 110% passionate 48215 person.
So he likes them.
He likes them. And he, in fact, has put together, if you thought we were perhaps being a bit smart when we're talking about these cars, I can tell you that Ellis has actually put together a book with a page on each car that is coming out now that we can tell the fans. So I'm going to go and get that little book.
That's fantastic. These cars, trust me, folks, they're very, very special. And if you get the chance to come into the pits and have a look at them, obviously being the age they are, they're all sort of pre-1955 type cars. They've all been restored lovingly, and just the workmanship, the craftsmanship involved in these cars is second to none. and it is an absolute credit to the everyone that's been involved in making it happen. They had a practice session earlier, and putting together some pretty tidy lap times too, I have to say. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with this afternoon, because they were good to watch this morning. I loved it.
Fantastic. I actually got the opportunity of doing a few laps of Symonds Plains with John Routley in the replica of the car that he raced back in early 70s.
I'm going to go on it right on a limb here before you say that. I'm going to say I reckon the replica's nicer, neater and tidier than the original.
You're right. You're right. Just a little bit of information as they come out. Humpy's evolved over the years since Appendix J rules ceased in 1964. They were modified severely to try and make them competitive with later model cars, such as sports sedans. In the period 65 to 82, they were classified as Group N, and that started in 82. The cars on the track, now the specification of these cars all vary.
Yes.
Okay, so just to try and make it easy, there are a number of cars which have got the original grey, what we call grey Holden motor.
The 138 Holden motor.
Yep, which was 2,182 cc. Now, most of these grey motor cars have got an increased capacity to get a bit more performance. Now, to identify them, on the left-hand side of the windscreen, okay, if you've got a grey motor, there will be a grey G on the windscreen. So as the cars come towards us, Andrew,
yep,
we'll be able to identify whether it's a grey motor or the red motor, which is the older the newer generation red engine. So there'll be a red on the windscreen. Now, here's the cruncher. There's a couple of cars out there that have actually got Nissan engines.
Yes, I know one of them.
Right, yes. Now, so there'll be an N on the windscreen.
Well,
now, the owner of that car would argue the point and say it's actually a Holden engine because they put that engine in the VL Commodore and it's a Holden. But it's actually a Nissan engine, as we all know.
He's actually claiming it's a Holden grey engine because it says Holden and it's painted grey.
I don't think so.
But either way, it's a beautifully presented race car and it's a pleasure to have it here, as it is with all of them. Darryl Wilcox down there, the typical Wilcox blue Humpy, the official right next to him there, car number 26 I think this one is. It's just rare for Darryl. Only just been finished, started building it a couple of months back, and in typical Wilcox fashion, Baz, it looks amazing.
Yeah, as you would expect. All of these cars, quite frankly, are superb. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is just going out of the pits now, and it's black with the red GT stripes from front to rear.
David Carey.
I make that qualification for David's car because John Ratley's car is also painted black with red stripes, but his stripes go across the car from door to door, rather from bonnet to boot.
Yeah, so across, not lengthways.
Now, David's car has got a grey engine, but it's got one of the very rare Repco cross-flow heads. Now, Phil Irving designed those, the Vincent designer from way back, and he also had a lot to do with the Repco Formula 1 engine. It's got a billet crankshaft, Mitsubishi Evo rods, SPS forged high compression pistons with jet engine push rods. It's got 2 downdraft Weber carburetors, 3-speed on the tree gearbox, standard Holden gearbox. Driveline is standard Holden, fitted with a limited slip diff, 13-inch wheels and drum brakes. Now, that car is absolutely extraordinary. You've got to have a look at it.
Well, they all are. I mean, I had a look around a lot of them yesterday, and I was just astounded at the condition of these cars. I really was.
Now, number 88, let's look for that for you.
Grant Bingley.
Yes, and this is a very interesting car insofar as it is the original car that was raced by Max Stahl, who you may remember, Andrew, was the architect of Targa Tasmania, together with John Large, and he raced this particular car that Grant is driving. It's the original car.
Yeah, okay.
So it's actually bored out to 3 1/4 inches. It's got 3 SU carburettors, and it's got a modified standard gearbox with original Holden running gear.
There goes John Routley past the line now. Just looking for that 88 car. Haven't seen it yet.
There it is.
There it is, yep, the green one.
With the white stripe, single white stripe over it. Grant Bingley from Westbury, who's been around the racing scene for a long time. And Max was actually the editor of Racing Car News, which was a great magazine from years ago.
It was. Darryl Wilcox goes by. There's David Carey in the 7 car that Barry was just talking about, a 1:17.47. Now, this is also a regularity event, so these drivers will need to nominate a time.
Absolutely.
At the end of this session, before they go out on the track again, they'll need to nominate a time they're going to drive to. Now, the 97 car that just went past, Trevor Grace. Now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Baz, but I believe that Trevor actually raced this car back in the day. It is the car that he raced back in the day. He's had it in the family the whole time.
Absolutely, and it's one of the oldest logbook cars, racing humpies, ever. It brings it out basically just to blow the cobwebs out. That's really what it's all about. 3 3/16. I'm talking in the old imperial measurement in case you're wondering what this googly gook is.
I don't even understand it.
Okay, it's got 3 motorcycle carbies. This one, it's got Amels, motorcycle carburettors, standard 3-speed gearbox, 3 on the tree. And it was interesting when I was going around Simmons with John Routley, watching how careful he was changing back to second to go down to the hairpin. It was a double clutch job, Andrew. How many people do that in motor racing these days?
Well, it doesn't happen in V8 supercars, that's for sure. So the quickest time that we've seen so far, well, is Michael Simpson, a 1:04.30. Now, Baz, during your time as a commentator for the world of supercars, you'd of course remember Michael racing in the development series as I don't know if it's done anything it was called that then, but the second tier might have been the Konica series back then.
I think you're right, yes.
He certainly raced in that. His father Ian raced here for many, many years in Formula V. He's won 1 million championships and so on. Michael had an industrial accident in 2007 and got hurt on a work site. Hasn't driven a race car since then. This is his very first time back in a car since 2007. Went out yesterday, came in, and you could not wipe the grin off his face. Absolutely ecstatic.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, welcome back, Michael. I'll be glad to catch up with you, mate, because I do remember you from when you were doing the development series.
This big. He was just a little boy then, wasn't he? Of course, he's got his own. Oh, Warren Slater's been off the track up there in near Spectator Land in the number 20 Humpy.
Was up. He runs several cars. He's also run a Cortina at different times in regularity.
It's actually that Grant Bingley car's got Max Stahl on the front guard.
Ella's French just going through in a very interesting car, and that's car number 40, and that is actually Jason. Now, I've got to be careful here.
Yeah, because Jason's in one and Ellis is in the other. One's 14, one's 40.
Yeah, well, the car number 40, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We won't talk about who's driving it at the moment.
French is in it.
Now, this car actually belonged to the late Mike McIver, who was very much to the fore as far as touring car racing was concerned in Tasmania. Unfortunately, passed away, and the car went to the French family.
Yep.
So they're running 2 cars, Ellis and his son Jason, this weekend.
What I'd like to say there, Baz, is that it's being run as a tribute to Mike McIver, which is absolutely fantastic. But we just mentioned Michael Simpson. Now, if you look at Michael Simpson's car when you get a chance, and that goes by, and it's coming towards you as we speak. If you look on the front guard, I don't know if you're going to get a chance to read it, in memory of Mike McIver. Now, the reason that's been done is that Mike McIver ran a car in those colours, and Ian Simpson, Michael Simpson's father, he got his start in the world of working, in the world of motorsport, etc. with Mike McIver. Ian credits Mike McIver to the fact that he's had a wonderful time in motorsport over the last 50 years, and this car's been built and done as a tribute to Mike McIver.
Yeah, I quite agree with you, mate, and it's a wonderful effort. Now, we've got a couple of cars coming in, the ex-Mike McIver FJ. How do we tell the difference? Okay, the FJ has got the horizontal and I suppose shark teeth type grille, and the one that's coming in behind, so this is the French's, that's also an FJ. The next one to come through, which is Trevor Grace in one of the oldest cars running, that's the 48215, which is the vertical grille.
As is the one behind it.
And then we've got a car which has competed in Targa Tasmania, and that is very heavily modified indeed. That's car number 255, and that's Kim de Brit. Now, built in Melbourne to run in Road Rally in Mexico, and the engineering in this car is absolutely extraordinary. It's actually got a red motor, so it's got the larger capacity red motor, modified with triple carbs. It's got a later 5-speed gearbox, modified driveline and differential, and coil-over suspension, would you believe?
Coil-overs? Well, they didn't bring those out in FJs.
No. I don't think Holden even knew what they were back in 48 when they introduced them.
Spare a thought for Bill Wedd too, in car number 53, the lone FC out there.
They call that the square.
He's the only car that's not a humpy out there. Car number 53, Bill Wedd, the FC Holden. Michael Simpson's done a 63.77 in a humpy. Funny. That's good.
Now, the Bill Wedd car, he's actually an FC Tragic, as you would imagine. He's got 3 really nice ones. So, yes, he's a Tragic.
He got all of them then?
Known as the square ones. Bill purchased this car from Victoria about 5 years ago. It's logbooked as a Group NB car and is believed to be the oldest logbook racing FC in Australia. It's got a grey motor, which they originally came out with. Bored to 3 1/4 inches, triple SU carbs, ported head, larger valves, and a modified 3-speed gearbox. That's the Bill Wedd car, number 53. So who finished up fastest, Andrew?
Michael Simpson, a 63.77. Brian Russell, who's come down from Queensland. I've got a sneaking suspicion that Brian might be an ex-Tasmanian, but if he's not, might claim him anyway. A 64.48. David Smith was third in the 52 car, a 66.57.
Now, this car was actually, the Brian Russell car is actually very well known to you, Andrew, because this is the car that was run in Targa Tasmania. It was built over a period of 3 months to run in an early Targa Tasmania, where a few roadside breakdown and repairs, it still won its class. It's been running on Queensland circuits, East Coast hill climbs, and is a regular visitor to Baskerville Historics, and is in the top 3 humpies. It's got a red engine, later model red engine with modifications, 345 Webers, side draft, Celica 5-speed gearbox, Ford diff, rack and pinion steering, and disc brakes. Now that belonged to, who is no longer with us, from Bothwell, Andrew
Jones?
Yeah.
Different car.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
The Jones family still own that car. That was the car that Greg Crick drove here a couple of years ago.
Yeah, sorry. Yes. Okay, slap wrist time.
Brian drove this car at the Longford Revival a couple of years ago as well.
Yes, correct.
But it looks similar, looks very similar.
Yeah, well, I was deceived.
Well, that's just un-Australian. You're not allowed to deceive legends. That's not on. Can't be doing that. It is just a delight to see so many humpies, though. I mean, I am old enough, just Baz, to remember full grids of them. Back in the day, I was probably only 6, 7, 8 years of age, but I can vaguely remember these big grids of these big cars that made lots of noise and all sorts of weird angles and sideways and two wheels and off in the dirt and doing donuts and all sorts of stuff. And some of them, the really trick ones like the DePolis and those guys, they might have had a lock diff or a welded diff, and others had open diffs, and it was just amazing back in the day.
And they were very interesting cars when it came to scrutineering. There was one competitor, because the Appendix J regs said that you must have in place the door and window mechanisms in the doors. And one of them, Bright Spark, removed all of those mechanicals out of the two back doors. And then what they did was they spot welded the door so it couldn't be opened. And so when the scrutineer, who would be under the pump, because scrutineering then meant every car coming through the scrutineering bay, none of this pre-season scrutineering, they'd say, "Oh, sorry about that, mate, that door's jammed." And the scrutineer would say, "Don't worry, mate, it's all right."
Yeah, off you go. We'll get you next time. So that is the Humpy regularity qualifying session done. Now they've got the decision to make as to how they want to, what time they want to nominate. It was brought to us by Shannon's. Next out will be sports and racing cars invited. Kingston Auto Repairs, and again it's regularity. And another field of cars that will delight a man of your experience, Baz.
Yes, you're right.
I was pretty polite there, wasn't I?
Yes, you were. It's very nice of you.
I'm going to try and do it for the weekend. No guarantees. And at some stage, I reckon I'm going to slip back into my normal mould.
Especially when David Rose arrives.
He's just a bad influence. Well, tell me I'm wrong. We've got a mixture of cars here. We've got Formula V's. We've got sports cars. You can see Armin Bayer there with his Cobra replica. We can see Doug Shepherd with his Cobra replica as well. Very, very nice motor cars indeed. Nigel Tate will be out there in his Matic SR4. That's the little blue sports car you can see just down on pit road. Open top sports car.
Of course, Frank Matic, the late Frank Matic, was a great exponent of the Elfin SR4, and in fact, with one kitted with a 4.4 Repco engine we were talking about previously, actually took the car to America. And of course he was competing against sports cars with huge all aluminium monster horsepower, but his car was lighter and still put out good power, and he frightened the Americans no end. So if this is the same car that I believe it is, I actually watched this race, and it was in the Launceston National Automobile Museum for quite a long time.
Okay. Problems for Armin Bayer here on pit road. Looks like Mick Williams with him down there, and helmet's coming off, so that's not ideal. I guess in terms of regularity, it's not as damaging as it would be if you actually had to qualify, because you still get to nominate a time. You just don't get the opportunity to do a few extra laps. So the 97 car going through. I might have two 97s out there actually.
That's the Motor Formula 3.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure. Sure, I saw John Pooley out there in a 97 car as well. Maybe he's in a different event somewhere. Maybe I've just got myself all confused. One car I do want to touch on, you touched on it last year. It's just coming towards us now, Baz. It's about to cross the line right now.
The Meerkat.
Love it.
Yes, a car built by Graham Soden. CFB Meerkat, silver, It's unpainted aluminium, and it's 5.3 litres, and it's actually a Jaguar V12. Now what he's actually done is to build a replica of the Mercedes-Benz that raced in the 30s in Grand Prix racing in Europe. But getting one of those engines, of course, is impossible. They're no longer available unless you go to somebody that could rebuild or build one for you. So Graham elected to go as close as possible. It's still a V12, 5.3, but it's actually a Jaguar engine. And he's a regular competitor here with that particular car. It's great to see it out there on the circuit.
Yeah, it is.
I noticed Doug Shepherd is out there with the Cobra, which is good to see.
Yeah, left-hand drive.
And the Crowfoot Holden is out there, so Wayne
Clark
is doing double duty, obviously, this weekend because he's also running the Lotus 11 replica.
Tell you who's not out there, who was out there this morning, and I don't know if there's been a drama or what the situation is, but Ben Henson was out in this field this morning in the Donahue Porsche.
He's probably too busy preparing the other cars.
He's got people to do that. I hope there's not a problem with it. Apparently it's only valued at $4 million.
Oh, okay. I'll just catch my breath.
Yeah, that's about all. It's not a lot if you say it quickly, apparently.
Ron Webb just coming through in his open wheeler, car number 15, which is the Piranha Suzuki 1100cc with support from BP Dover. Now Ron's been around for quite a while. We've seen him in Minis, we've seen him in Cortinas, have we? Ron Webb?
Escorts,
yes. I knew it was a Ford.
Yeah, yep. Peter Richards out there also, car number 2, the MGTF Special, just down through the S's.
There was a famous MG Special painted the same colour, and it was called Buttercup.
That's the colour that's in the program.
Yes. And for some reason we don't have a lot of times coming up on the screen.
Yeah, I think some of them have got issues with their timing.
Transponders.
Yes. But anyway, we're attempting to get that resolved so that we have times for these drivers. I guess it's not really super critical to have times until tomorrow, but for our benefit to be able to tell you what's going on, it's nice to be able to give you an accurate lap time on what these guys are doing. That
little car we called Buttercup, or that was the colour, in fact is very reminiscent of the first Lotus Super 7. That's how the first Lotus Super 7 actually looked. The little cycle guards, quite different to the other Clubman that's out there at the moment, the red Clubman. You'll notice that's got quite different. There's that beautiful Crowfoot Holden that Wayne Clark is just bringing into pit lane.
He's got some very nice cars in his garage.
He has. Mini's coming out shortly for their run.
Harmon Bay are coming back out now. He's been back into the pits and now coming back out, so that's good news. They are replicas of the Cobras. I mean, if that was a genuine Cobra, you'd be too frightened to take it out, the value of it.
Absolutely. I heard recently that there was a genuine Cobra that had been in storage in Hobart for many years, has just been sold, but I don't know what the sale price was, but you're looking at probably 7 figures.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a lot.
Yep, okay. And that Matic SR4 sounds absolutely glorious.
So, Baz, there was some talk at Simmons Plains a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to Andrew Webster, and we were talking about the historic meeting, and all the historic cars, and young chap on my left, young Adam Garwood, his name came up in conversation. And Andy came to me, he said to me, he said, look, I've got no idea, why don't we have historic meeting? We'll have a race for veterans. So the kids can get out, the dads can get in, and the older cars with the older drivers. Sounds good to me.
I agree.
Adam's just looking at me, shaking his head.
As much as to say it ain't going to happen. It looks like Wayne Clark is going to reverse back into the pits. Very interesting car, that. Raced originally by built and raced by Norm Crowfoot. It's got a Holden motor. I think it's got either a Jaguar or MG gearbox. Leaf spring solid rear axle.
He doesn't seem to like cars with roofs.
No, even in Targa Tasmania.
That's what I mean.
Drives the oldest car in the event.
And doesn't have a roof. Now, I've been around a few Targas, and if I was going to go in Targa, the very first criteria for me would be a roof.
Me too.
That'd be criteria number one. Never mind anything else, got to have a roof.
Yeah.
So this session has got just over a minute left to go. Young Will Twining, good to see him out there. He's just a youngster, I think he's about 15 years of age. The deal with that car is Grant Twining, his uncle. So his dad is Craig, his uncle is Grant. Their father was Arthur Twining, who was heavily involved with cams in Tasmania for a millennium, forever. Unfortunately, we lost Arthur a few years ago in a road accident, which was pretty tragic. But Grant, who's heavily involved in the police force, he's
Inspector,
something like that. He owns his Formula V, and part of the deal is he's said to his nephew, "You get good school results, you can drive the car. Your school results drop off, no car." So he's found a way to encourage the youngster to do well at school. Obviously, he's gone all right because he did Simmons Plains a few weeks ago and drove really well actually in that car, and he's managed to get off school today because obviously it's a school day. He's got off school today and he's out here turning laps. So obviously Will's doing well at school, I'd suggest.
Yes. Well, that would be a reasonable conclusion.
Good incentive to do well at school. Checkered flag comes out to end the session.
The little Hobson special just coming in, Bradley Trenham.
That's also done a lot of laps over the years.
Very interesting. It's space frame chassis with the Mini engine, transverse as they are in the Mini, but it's in the back, so rear engine. Very interesting little car.
So the session now complete for the regularity of sports racing and invited, courtesy of Kingston Auto Repairs. Next out the gate will be the Baskerville Classic Sprints, brought to us by ACL Bearings. Now, Classic Sprints is quite interesting because when you look on pit road, there is just like a car yard really, so many different makes and models and different types of cars. And car down there that we first saw at the Longford Revival in 2015, Wayne Double's Jaguar, which is a Bruno Carossi tribute car, for want of a better term. Of course, Bruno Carossi, a lot of the people involved in motorsport these days, they may have heard the name, but they wouldn't remember the man. He was sensational.
He was. He drove a Bolwell Mark 7, which was a fiberglass bodied coupe with a Holden engine. and it was built by the Bolwell brothers. They had a number of models over the years, and Bruno had one of those, which he raced quite successfully. It was white, went very well, but he finished up with the ex-Bob Jane Jaguar, the car that Bob Jane won an Australian Touring Car Championship at Longford when it was 4.2 litre capacity. I was there on that day.
So, folks, he's not reading this. He hasn't got no notes. He's not doing notes. This is straight out of the Barry Oliver memory bank. Must be a very big vault, I think.
Well, the other thing was Bob, not to do things by halves, also turned up in a lightweight E-type, one of the very rare E-types, a lightweight, and they are now, if you can get hold of one, and that particular car that I referred to was sold recently, millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yep.
Absolutely crazy stuff. But yeah, so that Jaguar down on pit road, it sounded like it had some trouble this morning. It sounded like it needed to clear its throat. It wasn't running very nicely at all. But Wayne Double owns that, and he's lovingly restored that to represent the car that Bruno Carossi raced for some time. And Bruno actually drove the car at the Longford Revival, and he was almost in tears, Bruno.
Yes, he was.
Very emotional about it. Had a great day and a great weekend, and it's good to see the car back out once again.
Now, we were talking about Doug Shepherd previously.
We were.
Now, very interesting that you mentioned Jaguar, because a lot of people may not know, but back in 1959, I think it was, at Longford, a certain John Yule turned up at Longford with a blue 3.4 litre Jaguar that belonged to his father Boyce, and it had been fitted with some PBR brakes, and he took on David McKay in the Ampol car, which was expected to in fact win the race, and in actual fact John Yule, the late John Yule, actually upstaged David McKay, much to his chagrin, and won the race. Now, that car is now in Doug Shepherd's possession, and he's in the process of actually restoring that car. I've actually seen it. He's doing a great job with it.
Well, that doesn't make that doesn't surprise me at all, because Doug's one of those guys. He's a bit like Dave Carey, that if they're going to do something like that, it is immaculate. It is just beautiful.
Yeah, so that's to come. So, very historic car that he managed to get hold of. I think he got it from down the coast.
Yeah, okay.
So it's got heritage.
I'm always sure that there's a lot of these racing cars with history, with heritage, and they're owned by people who may or may not have any idea at all as to what they've actually got.
Oh, you're quite right.
You know, in terms of the history of some of these cars is astounding.
Yes, I remember looking at an Australian Autosport magazine many years ago. Would have been in the early 60s, and there was a D-type Jaguar for sale in Australia, and bear in mind this is pre dollars and cents, so we're talking pounds, and I think it was something like £2,000 for a D-type Jaguar. You can't buy one now under $15 million. And I mean, you see opportunities like that. I mean, Stan Jones gave away the 250F Maserati that he used to win the Australian Grand Prix in 1959. He stored it at a friend's place, presumably for 3 months. After a couple of years, the story goes, this guy rang Stan and said, "Mate, what do you want to do with this car?" He said, "Oh, you can have it." Now, I shudder to think what you'd pay for that car. Yeah.
A lot.
Yes.
So the Baskerville Classic Sprints brought to us by ACL Bearings. Their 10-minute qualifying session about to commence.
And as David Rose would say, we have a very eclectic group of cars.
That we do, and he would say that. And I'm not sure whether we'll see Rosie today, but we'll definitely see him tomorrow and again on Sunday.
We've even got a panel van out there, but
We
we've
have.
seen that before.
Wayne Lamont, and if you look closely on the side of that, it says the Diamond Valley Speed Shop,
Yes.
and some people would go, so?
So, yes, and of course the answer is, drum roll, that's where Peter Brock, the great Peter Brock, built the A30 Holden.
Exactly right, where he got his start. Way back in the, well, that would have to have been early 60s, I'd imagine. Early to mid, maybe. Come on, Baz, you know that. You'd know that. Had to be stored away, you're in the wrong vault.
Yeah,
Wrong.
early 60s. No, you've got me, Andrew.
Have to be there. Have
Yeah.
to be.
Somewhere in there.
So,
So what have we got now? We've got
it's the Baskerville Classic Sprints. Qualifying session at number 5. So we've got EH Holden's Minis. There's a Holden Monaro, the HT Holden Monaro. Cortinas, EH Holden's, as I've said. The 1962 Mark II Jaguar of Wayne Double. Theodore Bath of Philip Blake. Yeah, it's quite a number of different types of cars out there, but plenty of minis, which is great.
I notice James Wilson running the silver and red 1430cc car. Now, that sounded like the Jag,
Was.
and I don't think that's a Jaguar noise.
Not a nice Jaguar noise,
It
that's for
sounded
sure.
like he had severe flatulence.
Yeah, it sounded, well, marginally better than that this morning. But anyway, hopefully they get that cleared up and he has a trouble-free run over the weekend. Car number 41 goes across the line as we speak, and that is Chris Fitzgerald in the Mini Cooper.
We've got a number of cars going up the hill that appear to be travelling very slow. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Obviously, the Monaro GTS of Alistair Shoebridge is taking his time. It's absolutely pristine, that car, and I'd say it's totally original, so he'd be taking his time, but yes, he's being passed now. And Philip Blake loves his Fiats, done numerous Targa Tasmanias. He actually, on the media day prior to Targa a couple of years ago,
I was there.
actually managed to tip it on its side in the hairpin, and the first person to arrive on the scene was a certain Jim Richards in the Porsche. and Phil said, "Can you just tip it back on its wheels?" So Jim and some other drivers did tip it back on its wheels, but it's a wonder they didn't break Philip's neck.
He tipped it on his lid again in Devonport, the same event.
That's right.
And the one at the hairpin, he didn't actually hit anything.
No, it just toppled over.
It did. That's exactly what happened. Wayne Lamont goes by. Stiffy Martin in the Cortina, car number 101.
Significance of that car is that it's been painted as a replica of the car that Tony Edmondson originally raced way back in the time.
In the Don Elliott team.
Yep, exactly right. So, and we should mention that Steve Martin has got a genuine GT 500.
Yes, he does, and I don't know what the value of those is, but it would be significant.
Well, they only made 110. Some of them have gone to God,
Yeah.
and the GT 500 could be easily identified in that it had twin fillers on the panel behind the back window, because Harry Firth had a fair bit to do with the actual preparation of the cars. They were built specifically for the Bathurst 500 when it was a 500-mile race, and Firth and Barry Seaton actually went on to win the race. I think it was 1963. Don't know.
That would have been the Armstrong 500, as it was called then.
Yeah.
So the quickest car we've got it there, not that it actually matters greatly at this stage, is car number 12, which is Matthew White, the Ford Cortina Mark I, which is I believe owned by Warren Slater, car number 12, the little Cortina. Wazza's been a long time supporter and competitor and enthusiast of motorsport and been involved in any number of different cars.
Sponsored by Wombat Arms Hotel.
That's Wazza.
That's Wazza, yep.
So he's going very well. A 1:10.81. Second quickest car out there at the moment is the number 41 Mini of Chris Fitzgerald. He's done a 1:10.9. So only a tenth of a second between them. And then it's the 96 car of Gary Wilson, which is also a Mini, later model one, a 1972 Mini Clubman. And he's done a 1:11 flat. So there's 2 or 3 tenths between those 3 cars, which is great news for us when things get serious tomorrow and again on Sunday. That Jag's starting to sound a little better. Maybe it's been on the soothers. I don't know. It sounds like its throat's getting better. Now, problems for young Bingley there. Julian Bingley, I think it is, Grant's son. In the EH Holden, he's pulled off the track next to the Armco fence just by the bridge. So
I'm curious. We've got James Wilson and Daniel Wilson.
Yep.
The 2 brothers.
Yes.
Gary Wilson.
No, not sure.
Same spelling. It's an unusual name.
Yeah, I know.
Spelling for Wilson has got 2 L's. So I wonder who it is. Would it be Dad?
I don't want to hazard a guess.
Well, neither do I. No. Well, we will find out, folks. And interesting, running a Mini. And they're both entered by Wilson Automotive.
And the plot thickens, doesn't it?
The thick plottins.
Julian Bingley, son of Grant, he's sitting in that EH Holden. Checkered flags come out to end the session. And they've ended it a couple of minutes early, and the reason they've done that is rather than red flagging the session and send them out for a couple of minutes, they'll end the session now, recover the EH Holden, and we'll go on with the program. I'm assuming that's why they've done that. It says on here there's 2 minutes left in the session, so that would be why they've done that. They're not happy with the E8 sitting there, and I'm sure that Julian's not happy sitting there. And I'm pretty sure that Grant wouldn't be happy with it sitting there. So
no, it's a beautiful car, so
it's good that they're going to get that all cleaned up. Alan Newell goes by in the trusty HR Holden. It's amazing where these cars come from this meeting, Barry. You don't see them year by year, and then all of a sudden they just come from everywhere for this show. It's fantastic. It's really cool to see them all. But
we'd love to see them at the 6 other statewide rounds.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But I was just thinking to myself, Rob Proctor's got his HK Holden. There's an HR Holden running. I mean, over the years, they're 2 models of Holden that really didn't race very much.
No.
I mean, the HK in the Monaro form, yeah, that one. Bathurst came 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 5th at Bathurst in 68. But in terms of HK 4-door sedans, I've seen one, Rob Proctor's. HR Holdens, don't remember seeing too many of those over the years either.
No, and they produced the X2 version of that.
They did. That had bucket seats.
Well, they had an under 3 litre series at Amaroo Park going way back. And Bob Forbes, a well-known name in motorsport,
Yep.
who ran the GIO Nissan GTR, the R32.
Yep. For Mark Gibbs.
For Mark Gibbs. He actually turned up at Amaroo for the under 3 litre race in a Holden X2, a HD version, right? And it actually proved to be quite successful. People laughed when it turned up. Who'd want to race in a HD Holden?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it turned out to be very successful.
Yeah, well, yeah. So we might take a break, Baz. They're going to have to recover that EH Holden, the Bingley EH Holden. Next up on the program, we've got the 2 motorcycle classes to do their qualifying. Of course, the first one will be qualifying 6 historic motorcycles up to 500 cc's, brought to us by Horizon Motorcycles, followed by the open class bikes for 10 minutes, and they'll be brought to us by Motorworks. Well, we're certainly going to get revved up now. The motorcycles come out on track for their qualifying session. Over 10 minutes. The first group on track is the under 500cc bikes. We saw them this morning. Quickest was Brett Simmons. No surprise there. 59.9, I think it was from memory. The lap time he put down. They'll get 10 minutes. Much the same as the cars with their qualifying times. Close to, I believe there's close to 40 bikes here this weekend, which is not too bad. Split between the under and over 500cc's. Katie Abdullah goes by on bike number 175, the Honda CL175. And much as it was this morning, it'll take them a couple of laps to get the temperatures and the pressures and everything right in the tyres before they really get into it. Josh van der Putten is quickest at the moment on bike number 93, the Yamaha TZ125, a 63.86 lap time to him. At the moment, the 57 machine of Bob Sellers is the second quickest bike. Make that Brett Simmons now, but Sellers was a 65.02. Simmons has gone to a 63.95, so he's about a tenth away from the pole man, Josh van der Putten. Simmons, of course, riding bike 19, a Honda RS2. So we see the 4 machine go by, and that is Matthew Long, Honda RS125. And Long is the 7th quickest bike at the moment. Katie Abdullah goes by to complete her first flying lap, a 1:24.98. Josh van der Putten goes by. Can't go quicker. He's still the quick man. I'm sure that's going to change as it washes out. It's van der Putten from Simmons. And now Simmons goes to the top with a 61.48. So he's now 2.3 seconds clear of Josh van der Putten, who's second. Then back to the 57 of Bob Sellers. Then 55 will be the next one. That's Boyd Witzman on 55, as I said. Then the 500 machine, Julian Winlow, the Hobart Motorcycles entry, is the 5th quickest at the moment, a 64.98 for Winlow. Van der Putten now starting to put some pressure on the 93 machine. Jumps up into second position. The timing war, a 62.44. So it's still Brett Simmons, Josh van der Putten. Then we go back to Bob Sellers. Boyd Witzman in 4th in the 500 bike of Julian Winlow. Rounding out your top 5. Outside that, it's the 4 bike of Matthew Long. Then the 44 machine of Hamish Sellers. 43 would be the next one, and that is Daniel Briggs. Katie Abdullah. And bike we haven't seen yet is the 14 machine of Mark de Jong, the Honda CBR 250. Hasn't actually completed a lap at this stage. Simmons has gone quicker again. He's got it down to a 60.72. We did see him in the 59s this morning in the early session of the under 500cc's. Van der Putten does his fastest lap, as does Bob Sellers. Van der Putten 61.23, Bob Sellers 62.17. Witzman now moves up a little bit, a 63.88. Winslow also going quicker again, a 63.91. And it's back to Long, Sellers, Briggs, Abdullah and De Jong, who hasn't turned a lap as yet. Has now. First lap for the number 14 machine of Mark De Jong. .43 goes past the timing line. Daniel Briggs, the CBR 250 of Briggs, a 1:12 flat is his best time. Van der Putten and Bob Sellers together on the track, pushing each other along in second and third place respectively. We see the 4 machine come into the pits, and that is Matthew Long. Simmons sets another fastest lap, a 59.78 on his 5th flying lap, so when you heat the tyres now, going nicely. The 19 bike of Brett Simmons, the Honda RS2, total forklift and storage machine, going beautifully, 59.78. Van der Putten still second, and that's 61.23. Bob Sellers is third, 62.17. Then De Jong has jumped up into position number 4 now, a 62.19, so 2 100ths behind the third place bike of Sellers. Then Winlow would be the next one, 63.48. Van der Putten goes quicker again, jumps into the 62nd bracket now. So he's certainly doing his best to try and chase down Simmons at 60.99. Clearly got a gap now over the third place bike of Bob Sellers, whose best is a 62.17. So he's over a second quicker than Sellers, who now sits on pit road on bike 57. He's third. Zhong is fourth. Then Winlow, Witzman, Long. The 44 would be the next one, which is Hamish Sellers. Long, Briggs and Abdullah, whose best time is a 1:21.21. So 59.78. Question is, can Simmons go any quicker than that? Van der Putten goes quicker again, so chipping away down to a 60.88. The gap is 1.1 between pole and second. Abdullah does another fastest lap, a 1:20.99. Quite a lot of green on the screen. Riders doing their fastest lap time on this lap. Not so much, not the same there for Witzman, who does a 66.45. Best is 103 or 63.73. De Jong goes faster again, 62.17. So the back half of the session starting to bring out the good lap times, quite often the case. Long goes by a 69.01. Second and a half slower than his fastest lap time. So this is the battle for pole. Qualifying with a minute left to go. Van der Putten goes through, can't go any quicker, has completed 8 laps. The poleman Simmons has completed 5, so obviously he has decided that that's enough. Briggs goes by. A best lap time there for Daniel Briggs of 1:10.70. Katie Abdullah on bike number 175, getting quicker every lap. Completed 6 laps down to a 1:19.95. As we see the 55 machine of Boyd Witzman come in. Witzman in 6th place on the sheet at the moment with a 1:03.73. Winlow in as well on bike number 500. A 1:03.16 on his last lap. Josh Van der Putten trying and get closer and closer to the time of Simmons. Unable to do so at the moment. That last lap was a 1:01.92. So quite a way away from the pole time set by Simmons of 59.78. which Simmons did on his 5th lap. He's only done the 5. Checkered flag now coming out to complete the session. De Jong trying to do something, couldn't do it on the last lap. Will qualify in 3rd. So it looks as though it's going to be Brett Simmons sitting on the pole. Josh Van Der Putten will start out of grid number 2. And we'll go back to Mark De Jong, who's currently sitting in position 3. 4 at this stage. And here's Bob Sellers on bike 57. Back to the 500 machine of Julian Winlow, who qualifies in position 5. Out of position number 6 will be Boyd Witzeman. Out of 7, Hamish Sellers. Out of 8 will be bike number 4, Matthew Long. Out of 9, bike 43, Daniel Briggs. And rounding out the 10 bike field in the under 500cc bikes, Katie Abdillah. And her best time was a 1:19.95. So that is qualifying for the under 500cc historic motorcycles, courtesy of Horizon Motorcycles. Next out the gate will be the open class bikes, and that'll be brought to us by Motorworks. Okay, welcome back, folks. The open class motorcycles are on track now, courtesy of Motorworks. And a very warm welcome and good afternoon to those people who may be checking out the action online. The live feed is up and about, I believe. So if you're in your lounge room or in your office or wherever you may be, checking out the action from Pepsi Max Baskerville Raceway, the Baskerville Historics is underway for 2017. Good afternoon to you. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow and again on Sunday. If you can get out, do so. Please come out. It's not expensive to get in here. And look, I promise you, if you love cars, if you love motorsport, if you love motorcycles, you won't go home disappointed. You will see a cavalcade of motoring goodness, as we like to call it. So, as I said, good afternoon to everybody who may be listening at home or at the office or wherever you are. If you are and you like what you see, as I said, please come on down tomorrow, check it all out, or leave a comment on the Baskerville Historics Facebook page. Let us know you like what you see, or ask a question, or whatever it is that takes your fancy. Okay, the open motorcycles are on track. And much as he was this morning, the quick man at the moment is bike number 97, Dave McCullough, Yamaha FZR 1000. Support from Ariel Transport for him, and he's rocking around there at a 58.4 at the moment, doing a wonderful job of it. Brett Simmons, a 60.11. And Sean Leonard, good afternoon and welcome.
G'day mate, how are you?
Oh, look, I'm just absolutely fabulous.
What a fabulous day we've got here. It's nice and sunny and the guys and the bikes are going nice and fast.
They are.
They're having a good time out there. There's been a few mechanical issues and a crash or two earlier in the day, but looks like everyone's back out there again.
So that crashing's no good for you?
No. It's okay, but you shouldn't do it too often.
Well, look, if they came to me, I'd advise they don't do it at all.
It's safer if you don't do it.
Us old blokes, we don't bounce very well. And
not at all. But it's good to see Brett Simmons there is getting down to the 59.9s, which is quite quick on a motorcycle. It's probably close to 30 years old. Ex-GP machine, 250 GP machine.
Okay, so the program's showing me it's the wrong bike then by the look of
sorry.
that.
Yeah, no, that's my fault. He was out in the last session on the 250 GP machine. This is a 750 Suzuki's on in this group.
Okay, so the program's still wrong because it's showing him on an RS125, so that won't be right.
No, that's not right.
So this is the 750 he's riding now?
Yes, I'll just confirm that as he comes past, but I'm fairly certain he's on the 750, yes. Yes, that's him there chasing Chris McGrath now on the 750. Chris McGrath's on a 600 Yamaha.
So he did well earlier on in practice this morning too, McGrath. He was quite quick this morning.
Yeah, he can certainly run round in the 57, 58 second laps on that thing.
Yep.
When he gets his head right. So
am I right to assume that Brett Simmons is not on the same bike he had here last year? Because I seem to remember sort of 57s and...
Yeah, no, that was at the modern 2+4.
Oh, was it?
He was doing 55s.
Okay.
At the modern 2+4, yeah.
I struggle to remember what I did yesterday. Yeah. so
Don't we all?
But look, they're going well, the bikes, and McCullough's our main man at the moment, a 58.3700. Pretty quick. That's a Yamaha FZR 1000.
Yeah, well-developed motorbike. He's put a lot of effort into Dave, into that motorbike Dave has, and he does quite well on the mainland on it as well at the historic race meetings on the mainland. Timmy Lester there is doing reasonably well as okay as well. He's doing 102s, and that's almost a stock standard motorcycle that's about 10 years older than most of the other ones out there.
Yeah, okay. So for those people that may be listening online and whatever, I'm not a motorcycle commentator. I've just been filling in because you guys have been busy. So historic motorcycle racing, what's the criteria year-wise?
Yeah, there's a few different things. We have what they call period racing. So period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6.
Yep.
Period 6, obviously the newest motorbikes, so their cut-off for that is the 31st of December 1990.
Okay.
We run what we call pre-modern as well, which is a cut-off of 1999. Because there's a lot of old motorbikes in people's sheds that they don't want to bring out and race on the racetrack because they're way too valuable.
Okay.
Unfortunately...
You mean like $4 million Porsches and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, pretty much like that. But looks like we've had an off down the end down here. I'm not sure who that is. I can't quite see it. They're off the end of the back straight.
And not moving that well either, I'd suggest.
No, he's got a bit of a sore knee by the look of it. I'm not quite sure who that is. I can't see the number on the bike. But they're getting well clear, so there's not much longer going in the session, only 3 minutes.
Looks like 77.
That's 77 is Mark Hemsley on the Ducati. I don't think that is so.
It's just that there's a tail tank there. My eyes aren't that good. Have a look. Tell me what you think. Like a tail fin there with a number. It looked like a 77 to me. But then again, I can't see out of either eye, so that's okay. While you're looking at that, McCullough's gone quicker again. A 57 now. 57.92. McGrath a 58.79. Simmons a 59.74, and then Sellers a 60.19. They're your leaders.
Yep, that definitely is Mark Hemsley that's just jumped off at the end of the back straight. He's up and wandering around okay. That's his second fall for the day, which he won't be that happy with.
He wasn't listening to me, was he?
No, not at all.
Don't fall off.
There's so there's a lot of motorbikes out there that people won't bring to race meetings. And
Red flag.
They're red flagging it. Okay.
So with 2 minutes 47 left in the session, it'd be interesting to see whether they bother to restart it or whether they just go off that for qualifying.
Yeah, no, being the bike steward as well as the commentator at the moment, I'll say that that's it. So I'm going to have to duck out of here and race down and
leave it with me. I'll fix it.
Thanks, mate.
So there you go. That was short-lived. We had someone knowledgeable for a very short time, and now it's back to me. So motorcycles. The next time we see them will be on tomorrow morning. Yeah. No. Oh, good. So that will be it for the bikes. Next up will be qualifying session number 8, which will be Group SSB, SC, and Invited. These guys had some fun this morning too. This will be brought to us by the MG Car Club of Tasmania. Going to be a short break while we recover the motorcycle, etc. that fell over. It's very handy when you've got the steward and the commentator sitting next to you. Sort of get the results you want straight away type of thing, so that's handy. Don't forget, folks, tomorrow action will be on track from 9 a.m. There will be no practice or qualifying. It'll be straight into racing from 9 a.m. Looking forward to that. And it'll be racing all day. And same thing again on Sunday. Okay, cars heading out on track now for Group S, SB, SC and Invited. It's it's quite a handful, or mouthful, whichever way you want to put it. Wayne Clark. Looks like he's heading out in car number 71. Honey Pitt's definitely gone out. Williams looks like he's out there. We'll gather it all up and have a good look at them as they come past to complete lap 1. And 15 minutes the session this time for Group S, SB, SC and of course invited cars, courtesy of the MG Car Club of Tasmania. Thank you to the MG Car Club for their involvement in putting the weekend together. Car 666. Here's David Anderson from Victoria now. I remember David a couple of years ago was here with that car and he was very quick indeed in the Group S racing. Put on a fantastic display that weekend, the Group S guys. Looking forward to much the same this weekend. Car 36 goes through. Rod Chivers from New South Wales in the Triumph GT6. And a bit later on I'll get Barry Oliver to explain to me a little bit about the Triumph GT6. That's obviously his era of cars. Car 51, Kent Brown from the ACT and his MGB goes through. Wayne Clark out there in this session as well. Car 44 out there, Brian Falloon. Lincoln Spur, who was the quickest in practice this morning, the MGB V8, the white car number 75. Now, Lincoln, a couple of seasons ago, was a regular in Sports GTC and B. In fact, I think he won the GTC Championship at one stage in the Tasmanian Super Series. Done a lot of laps and very reliable and quick car. He was doing 63s this morning. Let's have a little look at what he goes through at there. A 64.84 straight out of the box for him. Anderson is second, then Falloon. Chivers dropping down the list as Mick Williams buys into it. Jeff Duggan. Honey Pitt jumps up to position number 4, a 67.94 for Honey. So getting onto it nice and early in the Porsche 914, the little white car number 10. Doing a good job. Mick Williams just ahead of her in the 240Z, the Dover machine, just at the bottom of the hill now. And he'll chase them up the hill. Has already wrapped up GTC this year in the Tasmanian Super Series with one round to go. That will be here at Baskerville in November. Mick can't be beaten for the GTC Championship. So Lincoln Spurs our quick man. We go back to David Anderson from Victoria, the red MGB. He's currently sitting in position 2. His best time is a 105.71. So 8 tenths, about 8 tenths slower. Well, it's a bit more than that now because Lincoln Spurs just rolled in a 102.76. So he's raised the bar considerably. Mick Williams, let's see what Mick's got to offer. Nothing yet, a 66.57. We know he's quicker than that. Anderson, now Brown, the ACT driver, Kent Brown, jumps up into position number 2. A 105.38 for Kent Brown. Currently sitting in 2. So it's Lincoln Spur, Kent Brown, David Anderson, Mick Williams, Honey Pitt rounds out your top 5. Then it's Wayne Clark, Jeff Duggan. Back to the 36 car of Rod Chivers. Then the 44 machine of Brian Falloon. Chapman there as well in 82. Roger Chapman from Victoria in the MGB Roadster. Another lap goes down for Lincoln Spur. Another fastest lap too, a 102.17. So showing some good speed from the MGB V8. Mick Williams, can he respond? What's Mick got? We know it's quick. We know he's good. Can't respond. Does a 66.13. Anderson has completed 3 laps. A 104.90 is his best lap time. And Kent Brown, a 105.38. Mick Williams, a 106.13. Jeff Duggan now moves up into position number 5, a 106.70. Honey Pitt, a 107.72. Then Wayne Clark, a 108.69. Roger Chapman is the next one at a 110.41. We go back to Brian Falloon, a 111.56. And Rod Chivers, a 113.58. And Spur keeps driving the nail in, making it harder and harder. Lincoln Spur on lap number 4, a 61.69. So really starting to turn the screw. Lincoln Spur, the MGB V8. As I said, has done a lot of laps around here in the Tasmanian Super Series at different times. And he now holds a 3.2 second advantage. Make that 2 second advantage as Kent Brown rocks in with a 103.74. The driver from the ACT, Kent Brown, in the MGB, 103.74. Anderson is now third at a 104.90. And Mick Williams, Jeff Duggan, Honey Pitt. Duggan, 106.31. So the time's coming down, definitely getting faster. But Lincoln Spur just keeps opening the gap. Here he comes again to complete lap number 5. And goes quicker again at 101.37. So each lap he's just going faster. Still 8 minutes left in the session. The qualifying session for Group S, SB, SC, and invited cars, courtesy of the MG Car Club of Tasmania. Oh, Mick Williams off the track there in the chute. Looks like he's got Jeff Duggan right behind him. He has indeed. Also the 51 machine of Kent Brown. So the gap first to second at the moment is 2.3 seconds. Honey Pitt goes through. Can she improve? A 107.83, so she's a second away from her quickest time. Then Falloon goes through his quickest time, a 107.66. So he now moves up into position 6. Honey Pitt down to 7. Wayne Clark's in 8. Then Chapman and Chivers rounding it out. Has anyone got any answers at all for Lincoln Spur? At the moment, he's taking all before him in that MGB V8. A lot to be said for laps at a venue, and Lincoln Spur has taken his gloves, so put his bat under his arm, and he's making his way into the pits. Doesn't look to be any problem with the car, so I'm suggesting he is satisfied with what he's done. With still 6 minutes, I suppose he could make some changes and go back out if he so chose, but he's going behind the pit wall, so I'd suggest that's it for Lincoln Spur. Kent Brown was not able to improve. Anderson was 2/100ths slower than his best time, so still sitting in third. Then Mick Williams, Jeff Duggan. Then in 6th place at the moment, Brian Falloon. Honey Pitt in 7th. Wayne Clark would be the next one. And then we go to Roger Chapman. And rounding out the field is Rod Chivers from New South Wales in that wonderful looking Triumph GT6. So it's just inside 6 minutes left in this qualifying session for the Group S cars. Still plenty of time for people to move up the order. You just got to wonder though if maybe they're getting a bit too much heat into their tyres and brakes, etc. They've all done sort of 7 or 8 laps now as Brown goes by. Mick Williams now does his best lap, a 105.88. Doesn't move him up though. He still stays in position 4. Five minutes left in this Group S session. Wayne Clark goes across the line. Best time for Wayne is a 108.69. He did that on lap number 3. He's now done 8 laps. Hard to imagine he's going to get much faster than that in this session as we see the number 36 machine come in. It's a beautiful looking car actually of Rod Chivers from New South Wales. Triumph GT6. Mick Williams goes faster again, but still can't move up. He's, what is he? It's a 10th away. Anderson goes through again, unable to improve. He's he's close. He was 4/100ths behind his best time. His best time so far is a 64.90, and he is 1.1 seconds behind our second place car, which is the driver from the ACT, Kent Brown, in a similar car, an MG. Seemed to be a weapon of choice for a lot of the guys in Group S. Certainly been a weapon of choice for Lincoln Spur so far. He leads the way, has a gap, very, very healthy gap back to second place of 2.3 seconds. Anderson is third, a further second back, then 4/10ths back to Mick Williams, 8/10ths back to Jeff Duggan, about a second back to Brian Falloon, 5/100ths back to Honey Pitt, 9/10ths back to Wayne Clark. Honey looks like she's out of the throttle. Chapman goes through, 109.61 on that lap, so 8/10ths slower than his best time. Mick Williams comes into the pits and goes behind the wall, as does Jeff Duggan. Their session will be done with 2 minutes 30 left showing on the clock. Falloon comes in as well in the white number 44 machine, the Triumph Tower 5. Makes his way back into the pit area. Hard to see if or where any improvement's going to come from now. It's been quite a long session. They've all done a number of laps. Kent Brown's done 10. David Anderson's done 10. Mick Williams did 8. He's now in. Jeff Duggan's in. He did 8. Brian Falloon did 8. He's in. Honey Pitt's done 9, and she'd slowed down last time I saw her. She's coming towards us now. Probably going to peel into pit road. No. She goes past pit road, but is just cruising. Also coming in is David Anderson, so he's set enough. The red MG car number 666 makes his way into the pits, and he'll go behind the wall also up into the pit area. Content with third place on the grid at this stage. Wayne Clark comes round to complete lap number 11 for him, and just changes everything up and does his fastest lap, a 68.64. I've just finished saying you wouldn't be able to do that, but anyway, he did. A 68.64 for Wayne Clark. Didn't move him up, still sitting in position number 8. Chapman is 9th and Chivers is 10th. 10-car grid tomorrow for Group S, courtesy of the MG Car Club of Tasmania. And I'm sure we're going to see some awesome racing from these guys and girls tomorrow. We did last year, and I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot more of it again tomorrow and Sunday. So with inside a minute now left in the session, we're starting to get fairly serious. We're getting to the pointy end. We've got qualifying sessions 9, 10, 11 and 12. So 4 qualifying sessions and another demonstration of the fabulous cars we've got here. Wayne Clark completes another lap. He's completed 12. He's done more laps in this session than any other driver. 12 laps is the maximum that we've seen. Checkered flag yet to come out. It'll come out about now, though, I'd suggest, because the monitor's telling me that's it. Yeah, you see the flag coming out now to complete the session for the Group S cars, courtesy of the MG Car Club of Tasmania. One of the organising clubs of this event. Big thank you to those guys, as well as the Hobart Sporting Car Club, the Mini Car Club, and of course the Sports Rider Motorcycle Association for the collaboration of the four clubs to make this historic event happen each year. They do a fantastic job. Connie Pitt gets the checkered flag in her Porsche 914. And I'd suggest that's just about it for qualifying for Group S. They've all seen it now. And next up will be, and this is going to be fun actually, the next qualifying session. It's Group N for under 3 litre and under 2 litre cars, so you might as well just say under 3 litre, I suppose. And that's brought to us by the very, very good people at Shannon's. And the practice session this morning was intense to say the least. I'm sure this will be no different. Looking forward to it. We'll take a short break. We'll come back to qualifying for those Group NC cars in just a few moments. I love it when a plan comes together. Song finishes just as the next field of cars goes out on track. Group N under 3 litre cars. And as I said this morning, they were good fun to watch. Marcus Sakanovic in the field, and it seems weird seeing Marcus in a Mini. I'm used to him in all sorts of high-powered machines of both the Holden and Ford variety, and I'm certainly not used to seeing him in a Mini. But we do know one thing about Marcus. He's a very, very good operator, and he'll get the absolute best of that car, I'm sure. So 15-minute session qualifying for the under 3 litre cars. Phil Shepherd leads them across. Lord Ciccatelli's there as well. Spike Jones, who was the quickest this morning. Then we go back to Jeremy Bennett. Scott Wilcox will be the next one in the blue E.H. Holden. Then we go back to the number 90 machine of Peter Smith. 63 is Ian Glover. Andrew Glidden to be next, and Steve Rayner. James Wilson in the 76 car of Adrian Wilson. Car's been built in a heartbeat, it's fair to say. Good field of cars in the under 3 litre group ends. Car number 71 goes across the line. That is Marcus Sakanovic, the Victorian, raced in Commodore Cup, race in development series, I think, from memory. Certainly Utes had a crack at most things. Been successful in nearly every single one of them, so I'll be interested to see how he adjusts to a front-wheel drive Group N car. Phil Shepherd, one of the fastest EHs in the country, a 63.78. Ciccatelli, a 66.15. Spike Jones, what's he do? A 64.75. Bennett slops in there at a 65.85. Scotty Wilcox getting amongst it as well. Currently sits in P4. Claude Ciccatelli is 5th. Let me go back to Peter Smith. Holloway would be the next one. Car number 36. And that is a Morris Cooper S. Plenty of time, though, in this session to shake it all out and get the actual grid positions. Phil Shepherd is the man at the moment. That is the silver E.H. Holden. Sakanovic, a 15.40 is his lap time. Here comes Shepherd, who's the quickest man we've seen so far by almost a second. He crosses the line. Does he go faster? No, he doesn't. Slower by a 10th. Ciccatelli and Spike Jones together. Jones goes to the top now, a 62.80. Bennett's there as well. He's now in 3rd, a 65.13. So Spike Jones, Phil Shepherd. We go back to Jeremy Bennett, 3rd. Claude Ciccatelli. Scotty Wilcox will be the next one. And Peter Smith. And the number 90, E.H. Holden, a 67.03 for him. Ian Glover goes by in his red EH, a 108.42. 15 cars in the field for the under 3 litre group ends. The 33 early model goes through. Shepherd does his best time in the EH, a 63.71. Young Bennett does his best time, a 64.92, sorry. So he's into the 4s. That's Jeremy Bennett in car number 91, the ex-Chris Ellis machine. Currently sitting in P3. Handy little break back to 4th. Glidden and Rayner travelling together in almost identical times, 107.71, 107.78, 7/100ths of a second between those two. So Jeffs goes by. Spike Jones is the quickest we've seen. Does it again. He goes faster than he did previously. A 102.22 or a 62.22. From Shepherd, Bennett. That's your top three. So we see the 36 car going. Phil Shepherd coming in too, going straight behind the wall. The silver E.H. Holden. He's currently sitting in position number 2. The best time for him of a 63.7110. Jeremy Bennett comes in his Mini. Jones goes quicker again and another fastest lap. He holds sway at the moment. He's got a handy little buffer back to second place at the moment. It's Phil Shepherd. He's currently sitting in the pits or gone behind the wall, so hard to suggest that he's going to come back out. But he's currently sitting in second. Then it's the Mini of Jeremy Bennett out of position 3. Next in line will be Claude Ciccatelli in car number 82. The E.H. Holden from Queensland. We've seen Claude here before. Good operator. Go back to Scotty Wilcox in an EH out of 5. Next to him at this stage is a similar car of Peter Smith. Out of 7 as we speak is Steve Rayner in the gold-coloured Escort. He's just been eclipsed by Andrew Glidden in the Mini, so they've swapped positions. Glidden jumps into the 106s, a 106.91. Rayner, a 107.27. Then Glover, a 108.42. Linda Devlin from Victoria would be the next one, a 108.84. Linda's driving a Morris Cooper S. As we see our current pole sitter, Spike Jones, going behind the wall. 7 minutes left in the session. Obviously happy with the way things are panning out for him. Glidden goes faster again, doing very well now. He's taken a second off his best time on that lap number 6 for him. He's gone through now in a 65.73 or 105.73 as we see the number 90 E.H. Holden of Peter Smith coming in behind the wall. Currently sitting out of grid 7. Steve Rayner doing the same thing. The gold-coloured Mark 1 Escort makes his way into the pits. Quite a number of the cars have now left the track. The Cortina, car number 76, just having trouble getting a gear as it came across the line there. Adrian Wilson, Ford Cortina Mark 2. One of those amazing stories that you see from time to time of cars being built in 5 minutes. Glidden goes by. Can he improve again? Short answer is no. So the order, as we see it, with just over 5 minutes left in the session, and I'm not sure that this is going to change too much. Spike Jones is our pole man. Phil Shepherd, EH out of 2. So it's BMW, EH Holden. Row 2 will be Jeremy Bennett in the Mini, Claude Ciccatelli in the EH Holden. Row 3 will be Andrew Glidden in the Mini, Scotty Wilcox in the EH Holden. Row 4 will be Peter Smith in the EH Holden, Steve Rayner in the Escort. Row 5 will be the Mini of Smith and car number 21, Linda Devlin, also in a Mini. That rounds out your top 10. Ian Glover in his EH, the red one, car number 63. He's just done his fastest lap on that lap. Well, his last lap was his fastest. Hasn't done a lot of laps, though. Glidden goes by. Can he improve? He can. He's going quicker again. He's down to a 65.48. It was only a couple laps ago he was in the 67, so certainly finding some pace in the number 17 Mini. Finds himself in position number 4. Needs to find... what's he need to find? Half a second to displace the similar car of Jeremy Bennett. Session's starting to wind down. Looks like Ian Glover has had enough. The EH Holden, he's making his way into the pits now. It's cruising down the pit access road as we see Glidden go by. Can he improve? No. He wasn't far away, 2/10 away. His quickest is a 1:05.48. The 82 car of... Claude Ciccatelli makes his way into the pits. His session is over. Marcus Sakanovic still out there in the Mini. Jeff's in the early model, a 1:11.28. So just over 2 minutes left to run in this under 3 litre Group N qualifying session, courtesy of the wonderful people at Shannon's. There's still time if someone wants to, or can, put together a lap, but there's very few cars left out on track, so most of them have said that'll do, that's enough. We'll park it and come and play again tomorrow. Smith comes to the line in the 49 Mini, followed by Lorna Devlin. Andrew Glidden's had enough. In 17, he's brought the car into the pits. He'll park that. Very good time for him, finished up with a 1:05.48. We'll start at this stage anyway out of position number 4. So it will be a mini row, the second row of the grid. Most of the drivers now have decided that will do for this session. You're not going to be able to improve, so not much point driving around and round and round when you can't go any better than you've currently gone. Oh, big moment at the top of the chute there as you come onto the start-finish straight, and that's enough, I'd suggest. Smith, car number 49, has cried enough. And all out of shape on the run through the chute there. Came straight into pit road. So the early model Holden, the Humpy of Jeff's out there, seems to be probably the only car that's still driving with any enthusiasm at all. Monitor shows that's pretty much it for the session. A good qualifying session there for the under 3 litre cars in Group N. Checkered flag comes out to end the session. So Spike Jones in the BMW 2002, he will start race number 1 out of pole position. Phil Shepherd in the EH Holden will start next to him in grid number 2. Out of position 3 in the Mini, Jeremy Bennett next to him. Similar car of Andrew Glidden. in grid 4. Out of 5, Claude Ciccatelli from Queensland in the EH Holden. Right next to him, the blue peril of Scotty Wilcox, a similar car to the EH Holden. So it's an EH lockout of row number 3. Row 4 will be Peter Smith in the EH, Steve Rayner in the Escort. And then the 2 minis rounding out row number 5, Smith and Devlin. We go back a bit further. You've got Glover in the EH Holden. Holloway in the Mini. The next one through would be Jeffs in the FJ, which we see out there just getting the checkered flag now. Wilson in the Cortina. Zakanovic in the Mini. Trenham will be in a Mini as well. And rounding it out, car number 39, Michael Holloway also in a Morris Cooper S. Coming out to grid up now is the demonstration cars. And I can see the Rothmans VL Commodore making its way up pit road. Great to see that car out on track. As I said this morning, that particular car, the VL Commodore, won a round of the World Touring Car Championship at Monza in Italy in 1987, the hands of Alan Moffat and John Harvey. They actually finished, I think from memory, it was 6th place across the line, the first 5 all being BMWs and all being disqualified for being underweight, which made this car the winner. And it was at an interesting time in touring car racing in Australia, because the end of 1984 was the end of Group C, the end of the big bangers, the start of Group A, and it just changed the whole landscape of touring car racing in Australia. We'd been used to Commodores and Falcons and a few Mazda RX-7s getting involved as well. There's Kevin Bartlett in his Camaro, but other than that, there wasn't a lot of different stuff around. All of a sudden, come 1985, you had Jaguars, they won at Bathurst. And Mustangs came in, BMW came in, and then we had the Ford Sierras, etc., etc. That, of course, led then to the Godzillas, the Nissans getting involved, and the whole structure of touring car racing, not only in Tasmania or Australia, but around the world, changed. There was a few guys that kept the dream alive with the Holden product. Peter Brock did it for a long time, and of course Alan Grice was another one. Larry Perkins and these guys, Alan Moffat, John Harvey, in this very car, this VL Commodore, took on the world and won at Monza in 1987. So we'll keep an eye on that. Going across the line now is Leon Burden in his sports sedan, the VK Commodore, followed by Danny Slater in the turbocharged XU1, as campaigned by Greg Crick. He won a Tasmanian Sports Sedan Championship at this very track in that car, around about 1981 or 82, somewhere in that range. Then Pat Reed, the mighty Tirana, the 6-cylinder machine. Support for him from G&D Automotive at Kingston. He's very appreciative of that. He said without their help, he wouldn't be here this weekend. He's had the car since he was about 9, I think. As we see the VL just tenderly making its way across the line. The Rothmans signage on that one. It's worth a lot of money. It's a very rare car, so you wouldn't expect them to be doing too much with it over the course of this weekend in terms of getting all exuberant. Of course, sports sedan racing, it's not as big as it used to be. Back in the 80s, it was a huge thing, and particularly in Tasmania, and it died away a little bit, but Tasmanians have been very prominent in the world of sports sedan racing, particularly nationally. It started off with John McCormick in the fabulous Ansett Charger, which as another car I believe has been restored, rebuilt, refurbished to be absolutely immaculate, and that was one of the forerunners of the great era of sports sedan racing. Of course, then you had Bruce Gowns in the Celica, another Tasmanian who did fantastic things. Tony Edmondson in the Outfitters, he did a great job. Greg Crick got involved in it in the Honda. Won an Australian Championship in that car. Bruce Banks has done very well. Kerry Bailey's won 7, I think, Australian Sports Sedan Championships. So Tasmanians have been to the forefront of sports sedan racing in Australia for quite some time. As Danny Slater goes by, there goes the VL. And, as we said, that is the car that won at Monza in 1987. Don't even want to think what the value of that car is. It's irreplaceable. We're very lucky in Australia that we have some people that keep these cars. I know the Bowdens have a great collection of cars that actually, they are the real deal. They did do the winning back in the day. And of course our friends at Dutton's get heavily involved in that sort of thing as well. And Dutton's people, they've been fantastic for this event. We thank them very much. George and Ben. Ben's down here having a drive this weekend and loving life. Peter Killick, I can see him down there. He's been working tirelessly all day, all yesterday, and for months leading up to this. He and his team put together a very, very good show, as always. Danny Slater goes across the line. Looks to be having an absolute ball in the next U1. Turbocharged 6-cylinder Tirana. Car with a lot of heritage. Pat Reed, the only man that I know of that's ever done a complete lap of this track on 2 wheels. Not in that car, he had another Tirana that he used for that, but VL still sounds tough. We will see more cars tomorrow in these demonstration runs. Of course, the McLaren will come back out, I'd suggest, and looking forward to seeing the Bruce Grounds, Adam Gowns, Salika, and anything else they can throw out there for a bit of a spirited demonstration. VH Group C touring car of Peter Jansen is still down in the pits. That was out earlier, and hopefully we'll see that out again tomorrow as well. Sounded great, looked tough. It's good to see these old cars getting a run. Lots and lots of heritage and motorsport history. By modern standards, a lot of these cars now, they wouldn't be able to keep up, but it's just awesome to see them still in one piece, still mobile, and still being brought out and used. Leon Burden, of course, he was very prominent for a number of years, and we've now got third generations Burdens doing fantastic things. Of course, Leon EHs and a Gemini, and of course this car that you see out there now, the Commodore, car number 12. Your son Roger raced HQ Holdens for a while. I raced against him myself at times back in the late 80s, early 90s, and of course now Roger's boys have been doing wonderful things, particularly Josh, who's overseas and really making every poster winner, doing great stuff, and congratulations to him. Hopefully that leads somewhere really, really big for young Josh Burden. He's been doing awesome stuff. Third generation races, and you don't see that very often in any form of racing, so it's good stuff. Pat Reed now makes his way into the pits in his Tirana, the faithful old XU1 Tirana. I remember when Pat came on the scene, he was a character then, and not much has changed. Still got the same haircut. A 67 XU1 Tirana. Support from the Jet service station. TNT Excavations at Kingston. Tomo down there. Checkered flag comes out to end the demonstration, the Legends demonstration. privileged to see some of these old cars out and about. The next session on track should be historic sports and racing cars, courtesy of Paulie's Wides, and they were good earlier on. It will be qualifying for them, so whilst it was all a bit of fun this morning, it's a bit more serious this afternoon. A lot of talk during the week, particularly on social media, about the Formula 5000 being driven by Jason White and just exactly how fast he was going. You can see the Rolt RT4 of Don Hume coming down to get organised to go out. Take a short break. We'll come back with the racing cars very soon. And that's been enough to get Barry Oliver to pull on a headset.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is the noise.
It's
I love
cool.
it.
How cool is it?
It brings back some memories from the 70s, I've got to tell you. My brother just gave me a book on the Tasman series, and it talks about Formula 5000s there as well,
Yep.
and I just love them. They're fantastic. I've got to say, Jason is doing a quite extraordinary job. We know he's a great tarmac rally driver.
Yeah, we do. Yep.
And he was brilliant in karts.
Yes.
But to hop into this car with very limited laps and to do a 50.15 is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, it is, and I reckon he can go faster than that. We're going to find out. No, not that time. He was held up in traffic down through the S's, so it was a 60-second lap that time, but he's got a bit of clear track, so maybe this one will be the one where he cracks into the 49s. Baz, I don't know if you saw it last week from Sandon. I was away, but I only seen little snippets. Leanne Tander debuted the new modern Formula 5000 type car. What I saw of it looked really exciting.
Well, I didn't get to see it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So was that the V8 Supercars version?
Yes, well, they've co-joined.
Combined.
They're combined now. They've joined together to
Okay.
have one, which made sense. It was smart.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
And, yeah. Chris Lambden, I think, had the other setup going, and they've joined forces to make one, and they had one out on track, and it was fantastic.
And Jason's coming into the pits. This will be just to check over. David Ringswandle down there with the Duttons crew.
That's easy for you to say.
Just call him Ringer, and everybody will know exactly what you're saying. Andrew.
Absolutely, yep. Coming in very, very slowly indeed, the Lola Formula 5000 Penske car.
What's Don Hume's time there, Andrew?
Don Hume is a 53.55. Noel Clark, now, think about Formula 2, 1600cc engine. He's done a 51.53.
That's brilliant.
That's fast.
That is stunning. That's a Lola, an Elfin 700.
Yeah, 1976 model car.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam Garwood standing behind us looking at these lap times, and his eyes are rolling like slot machines at the casino.
Well, Jason has actually gone back into the pits.
Yeah, he has gone behind the wall.
So he's probably satisfied that he's done what he wanted to do. Don't look so worried, Ringer.
He's keeping an eye on the 55 car being driven by Ben Henson. And that car's got some heritage as well.
I dare you to try and pronounce the names on the car when it was driven in its heyday.
Yeah, I'm not
There were
sure.
three of them.
I'm not sure about that.
It was just A, B and C.
Noel Clark also in the pits. So Jason White sitting on pole at the moment at a 50.15. Hard to see that getting beaten. Noel Clark, the closest to him in the Formula 2 car. And I've got to say, I'm just stunned by that lap time.
I am too.
A 51.53.
Well, Don Hume is still going around in that beautiful Porsche Cars Australia car,
Yep.
as it was known in its day, as the 55 car of being driven by Ben Henson goes through.
And that is that's a fairly rare car in its own right. As I said before, it's a Lola T296 sports car. It's only arrived in Australia in the last few days. Being run out of the Duttons garage, and gee, they've got some nice cars in that lineup.
Well, they were very fortunate actually that the car is here, because when it landed, it's got to go through quite a convoluted process to get through customs, and it's all to do with asbestos, would you believe?
Yeah, okay.
And fortunately, as Ben said, the stars aligned and they actually got it through quite quickly, otherwise it wouldn't have actually got here. So thank you to the customs people in Melbourne who facilitated the fact that the car is here.
So there is still 6.5 minutes left on the clock. Noel Clark's just gone back out on track. I'm just wondering if he can actually go any faster than that. A 51.53. Now, just having a look at these lap records, whether we've actually got a Formula 2 lap record on here. I'll have a little look. Racing cars, Formula 2. So that's cheating. That's held by John Crook in a cheater Mark 8. So that's pretty late. It's 80, mid-80s. And that was a 50.24. So that's cheating. That's not in. Like Noel's got a disadvantage.
We're not comparing apples with oranges.
No, we're not.
No.
The resident. Here you go. This is a lot more near the resident is Steve Cramp, Elfin 700. So
yep.
And that was done on the 29th of October 1989, a 52.35.
So Noel is nearly a second under that.
Yeah. So I reckon we'll get a lap record out of him tomorrow in race number 1, I'd suggest.
Yes.
Based on that. Of course, Noel's been away a couple of times now, particularly to Phillip Island. He loves taking that little Formula 2 car to Phillip Island, goes over there and has an absolute ball racing against all sorts of highly developed race cars. See the group in over 3 litre cars starting to line up down there. Their practice session was enthralling this morning. I'm sure this is going to be much the same this afternoon, but we've still got 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes to go in this session as the 17 machine of Willing goes by. 58.99 for a Formula Ford. That's quick.
Well, the car is actually owned by Randall Langdon, who's well known. He's been around the sport for a long time. He owns the car. Now, normally this would have been driven by
Anthony McKenzie,
who's running the Escort.
Yes, he is. Yep.
This weekend. So Todd has come from Melbourne, and very good steerer. So he's actually driving the car. But I actually had a look at this. The Wren was built by Bill Reynolds, designed and built by Bill Reynolds in Melbourne, and he in fact built a total of 26 cars, most of which were Formula Fords. In fact, he'd started building them before Formula Fords actually hit the track.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a bit of history there. Now the car this weekend, the Wren will be driven by Todd. Todd has been competing in mainland historic racing events in his Van Diemen RF86. Baskerville Historics is the Wren's third event in Tasmania. The Wren was purchased in 2013 from Guy Miller, so we've seen this car before.
Yeah, we have, yep.
It's been since given a complete overhaul end to end and cleaned with a toothbrush, as only Randall Langdon would.
Yeah, because no one else would do that.
No. And the Wren wouldn't be here without the help of Noel Clark and Stephen Byers and Craig Trenham, so thank you to them. But as I say, they built 26 of these cars, and this is chassis 8104, and it was constructed to the second period Formula Ford rules, safer but heavier than the 60s and 70s cars. So there you go, a little bit of information. First raced by Jack Lunenberg, 81 to 83, 83 to 87 by Giles Cooper, 87 to 89 Royce Gregson, 89 to 90 Bruce Davies, 90 to 96 Michael Kuhn, 96 to 98 Richard Evans, 98 to 2013 Guy Miller, and 2013 it became the property of Randall Langdon. So there you are, there's a pretty comprehensive rundown on the car, which looks absolutely superb and just beautifully prepared.
Oh, absolutely, as all Randall's cars always have been. He's got one of my dad's old cars, the sports car. He's been in the process of restoring that for some time, and I can't wait to see it come out, Baz, to be really honest with you. The last time I saw it, the work that they've done to get it back to what it was, because he wanted to bring it out the way Dad built it back in 1969. Last time I saw it, looked great. But how far much further he's got, I'm not sure. But he's like that, isn't he? It's got to be perfect or it's not at all.
Exactly. Yes, well, he's another person that's got a GT500 Cortina. He's also got a beautiful red XU1 Tirana.
He's had that a long time.
Which would be 100 points. It is just superb. So there you go, a little bit of information for you.
Noel Clark did go faster again, a 51.51.55.
That's an amazing time.
It is. It is. Remembering, of course, it's a 1600cc engine, so it's not a big capacity engine. It's just a small capacity engine.
Yes, And the last time we saw Noel, in fact, was back in a Formula V at the 5th and penultimate round of the Tasmanian Super Series.
It certainly was, and he did a pretty good job that day. Hadn't been in a V for 5 years or so, and jumped back in, and he was immediately straight into that lead pack, as you'd expect. And he did a great job.
The little yellow car that is up at the S's at the moment, car number 72, Christopher Fry, all the way from Queensland, in the Barana F72 Formula Ford, 1598cc as they were for Formula Ford. So good to see Christopher Fry all the way from Queensland with that Barana.
We're very fortunate this weekend. We've got people from all over Australia. People have travelled from Western Australia, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, I think. So we've got a good representation of every state in the country, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I fully agree, mate. Well, it's a measure of how highly regarded this meeting is.
Absolutely.
People would travel.
And this track, you know, you hear of people. I spoke to people yesterday, said, I've waited, 5 years to get here because I've heard of this track and I've seen bits on social media, YouTube, whatever, and it's been the bucket list. Can't wait to get out there and have a go on it. Michael Simpson, born in Tasmania, his dad raced here a million times, had never turned a lap here until yesterday. He said, why did I wait so long? It's a great track.
Yes, and they're all enjoying the benefit of this new resurface, of
Absolutely.
course.
Funny, like Michael, so I said to him, what was the feature of the track? He said, going over the top of the hill. He said, that's just not right. It's not the first to say that.
Sucker's Corner. Now, who said that, Andrew?
Alan Moffat.
Yes.
About 1969.
Yes. And the reason he called it that is because when you're going up the hill, you're looking at the sky.
Yeah, you are.
And all of a sudden the track drops away and you cannot see the apex of the corner. So you actually, if you're in a very fast car, you have to turn into the corner when you can't even see the apex. So Alan decided that Sucker's Corner was an appropriate name.
There were many people in my time in HQs, there were many people who tried to go through there without lifting. I was one of them that tried to go through without lifting. Yeah, nah.
So you wore the tyre barrier?
No, I just ended up facing the wrong way.
Okay.
Missed the tyres, but just facing the wrong way. It's a very difficult corner. If you're out there and you've never been around Baskerville, if you ever get the chance to do a lap around here, even if it's only slowly, take the opportunity because it's a different world out there when you're actually driving around. It looks entirely different. The up and down hill bit. I mean, even coming down through the S's, that's steeper coming down through the S's than you'd think it is. And same thing going up the hill. I mean, you hear it all the time about Bathurst. People watch Bathurst on television, and it gives you no idea at all as to how steep that climb is up that hill, Baz. You'd know, you've been there 500 times. It's such a steep climb, but it doesn't show it on television.
No, definitely not. It's like the first time I went to Bathurst in
19. There I go. Didn't last long, did I?
No, no respect for your elders, Andrew. But I got a shock as to how steep Bathurst was up through the cutting and how tight the dipper was. TV doesn't do it justice.
No, it gives you no indication at all.
No.
And even watching it on television, even just driving around the track in a road car at road speed, you particularly when you get up over the top, you think to yourself, this is so narrow. Wow, how narrow is this piece of road? How fast are they going? How narrow is it? How windy is it? How steep is it going up and then going back down? It's a daunting piece of racetrack.
Yes, exactly.
It's only a couple of weeks away too. I'm looking forward to that.
So over the weekend, we'll be asking you and David Rose and myself who we think's going to win Bathurst. So you've been warned.
Who's going to be asking us?
I'll ask.
Oh, you'll ask? You're going to ask yourself?
Yes. Baz, what do you think?
Oh, I have been giving it some thought. Alrighty, Group NC over 3 litres. Or Group N over 3 litres. In B cars, obviously in there as well. I'd suggest Warren Bryant, Scotty Corbell goes through, John Talbot, Darryl Wilcox in the Monaro. Next one through will be Milo Zizak in his Mustang. Mick Cross in the Tirana. Wasn't out this morning, Mick. in the 22 car of Trengrove. Triffitt goes through in the Mazda. Had dramas this morning in practice. Hopefully the little Mazda goes well for him this afternoon. The 88 car of Greg Topher goes through from New South Wales, a Group NB Mustang. Next one through will be Darren Pearce in the Camaro. He was the quickest man this morning, but only just. Jason Humble in the RX2 from Sydney. He'll be quick. The 13 car, we didn't see that this morning either. So a bigger field this morning than we had, a bigger field this afternoon than we had this morning, which is always good.
Yep. Well, just on Phil Triffitt, by the way, I did speak to him. Only did 3 laps. Reason, betting in brakes. Wasn't worried about times.
Okay.
This is the session where he said he's out to get Jason Humble.
Ah, well, that's good because I can see those two having a great scrap all weekend, to be honest with you.
Unfortunately, we don't have Craig Quinn here, so that would have been the other RX2 Mazda that we would have normally seen.
Callum Thomas is another one out there in a Mazda, the 13 machine, Mazda RX2. It's purple in colour. Keep a bit of an eye on him. I know that car's for sale.
Greg Topher from New South Wales just going through in his green Ford Mustang. That's a Group N car. Greg's been around since Adam played halfback for the Israelites and has done thousands of race miles over the years.
Jason Humble goes across the line. The quickest man we've seen is Warren Bryant, a 61.65. John Talbot, a 64.7. Although it is early days. Scotty Corbell moves up to second with a 62.28. Talbot now. What has he got on offer? A 64.40. Zizak jumps into position number 3 at the moment, a 64 as well. Triffitt into the 63s. So the order changing all the time. Mick Cross, the little orange XU1. Great little car. Drives it really well too, I've got to say. A 61.87. So I think this order's going to change a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Darren Pearce will get up and about very shortly in the Camaro. Here he comes now.
Yeah, the sideways Darren Pearce.
He's Humble now. Goes to the top of the sheet. A 61.32. Warren Bryant answers straight away with a 61.31. So Warren Bryant in the Monaro, Jason Humble in the Mazda, Mick Cross in the Tirana, Scotty Corbell in the Tirana, Phil Triffitt in the Mazda. We go back to Milo Zizak in the Mustang, Trengrove in a Mustang, Talbot in a Mustang. Talbot surprisingly well back at this stage. Darren Pearce is showing in the pits.
When I was talking to Phil Triffitt, I said, what about Jason Humble, because that's an incredibly quick little car. And he said, actually, I spoke to Jason and asked him about the track. And his comment was, there's too much grip. I like the car to move around under me. So that's an interesting comment. Here he comes, the man we're talking about, in the number 2 machine. That's got to be the quickest, one of the quickest Group N cars in Australia.
I'd suggest so. Suggest our monitor's playing up too, because it's showing the Darren Pearce on lap number 4 did a lap time of 3.3 seconds, so I'm going to suggest that might be an error.
Or a severe shortcut.
Jason Humble sits on pole at this stage with a 61.12. Warren Bryant on the outside of him, a 61.17. Busy little bit of track there. There's 3 cars trying to go very quickly indeed. Warren Bryant's there. Cross, Talbot, Corbell, Triffitt, Zizak, Trengrove, Wilcox, Topher and Callum Thomas. So here comes Darren Pearce now. Showing he did a, what's that? It's showing as a 57.13. That's not going to be right.
No. I think the best sounding car out there is Johnny Talbot's Mustang.
It does. It sounds amazing, that car.
When I first arrived before lunch, I was actually parked up on the hill and That car just sounded absolutely glorious coming through the chute. Here it comes now, folks.
Doesn't
Beautiful.
spare it either, does he?
No.
Does his fastest lap there, a 61.41. So they're stacking up in the 61s. We've got Humble at a 61.12. Brian at a 61.16. Talbot at a 61.41. Cross at a 61.46. Corbel at a 61.93. So it's getting pretty tight at the top.
That's going to be a great series of races to call this weekend.
Oh, well, you've got Mazda RX2. You've got Holden HQ Monaro, Mustang, Tirana XU1, and then not too far away, you got Phil Triffett and another Mazda. So going to be good fun. And throw Darren Pearce in there because he'll be in amongst it.
Yes.
That's the Camaro, car number 69. Been mighty impressed with the improvement in Scotty Corbel, currently leading the Group N State Championship through the Tasmanian Super Series, and he's just done his fastest lap time there, a 61.66. So he's not too far away. Talbot now jumps to pole with a 60.48. The first driver, oh, Callum Thomas, that can't be right, showing as a 57.87. Couple of glitches in the timing monitor.
The pigeon must have flown through.
It must have done. Mick Cross moves up a spot. He's into a 61.1 now. Wow, it's tight. Our tight front group is really tight. Darryl Wilcox just cruising in the mighty Monaro.
Darren Pearce just coming into the pits. He's obviously done what he thinks is enough at this stage.
Yeah, well, he's showing on the monitor as a 57.13, but I'm just not sure about that.
I wouldn't imagine he'd be 3 seconds quicker than John Talbot.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so. No, I'm with you. Absolutely. Mick Cross showing great pace in the orange XU1. Callum Thomas comes into the pits, goes back behind the wall into the pit area. So his session is done with just on 5 minutes left to run. Next out the gate will be the final session of the day, which will be for the Muscle Car Cup. Pacing around behind us, Baz, is a young man who's he's probably the worst. He's probably the worst person ever to watch a race car. He builds the Tirana that Adam drives in the Touring Car Masters. Can't watch it.
No,
Can't
really.
watch it. Can't watch it.
So he can build it, do an absolutely beautiful job. One of the best built cars I've ever seen.
Can't watch it.
He needs help.
He's been saying that for a while. He'd like 4 or 5 apprentices, I know that. No, he gets that nervous and uptight, and he can't watch it, especially in races where Adam's doing well. He might be leading or trying to get to the lead or whatever, and he's in a tight tussle with someone. There was one at Queensland where for the last 3 or 4 laps, Adam Bressington in the Camaro was right behind young Garwood, and they were almost touching for position, and yeah, Shane was gone. He was over the back of the pit somewhere, he couldn't watch it. Just tell me what happened when it's over.
I thought that only happened to mothers.
So that looks like they've amended Darren Pearce's best time. We'll still put him on pole at a 60.18. John Talbot next to him at a 60.48, so 3/10 between those two. Then Jason Hummel in the Mazda, a 61.12. Mick Cross in the Tirana, a 61.12. Also, identical time, 61 to 4 digits, 61.1239 for both of them.
I've only ever seen that happen once before, and it was a V8 supercar qualifying session.
To the 4th digit.
To the 4th digit, and it was at Eastern Creek before it became known as Sydney Motorsport Park. Mind you, It only lasted for a split second, or for a short time, I should say, before one of them altered the time.
Well, Jason Humble's just fixed that because he's just gone faster again. He's just done a 61.11.
That's going to be a great battle over the weekend.
Yep, sure is. So you've got a V8 Camaro, you've got a V8 Mustang, a rotary-powered Mazda RX-2, a six-cylinder powered Tirana, or LJ Tirana, a V8 powered HQ Monaro, another six-cylinder Tirana, and another Mazda, all within a second of each other. Going to be fantastic fun. The over 3 litre Group N cars tomorrow, brought to us by Shannon's, and I reckon it's going to be one of the highlights of the weekend they're racing.
Yes, I quite agree.
As will the next cars going out, the Muscle Car Cup. Last year, if you remember, Baz, the Muscle Car Cup put on a hell of a display.
Yeah, fantastic performance. I really enjoyed that.
It's a big field of cars. I think there's 26 or 28 cars in the Muscle Car Cup field, so it's going to be on. Johnny Walker down there, he needs to buy a hat. Someone get him a hat. He's got something missing from the top of his head. He's been down here giving John Talbot a hand, so keeping Tommy on the straight and narrow. Warren Bryant has jumped up into position number 3 with a 60.65, so it's getting tight at the top in the Group Ns. Still showing 1 minute 45 in the session. Darren Pearce, John Talbot, Warren Bryant, Jason Humble, Mick Cross, Scott Corbell, Phil Triffett, Milo Zizak round out your top 9. Outside that, we'd be looking at Bill Trengrove, Greg Topher, and Darryl Wilcox. Currently in position number 12, out of 12, and gee, I tell you what, it wouldn't be very often in 50 years of racing that Darryl's been down there. So we've got 2 car. Oh no, we've changed Adam to a 2, have we, by the look of it? Okay. I don't know whether Shane's going to get nervous this time. He hasn't got his Go at Motorsport shirt on, so he's just an interested spectator at the moment. I do know that after practice, Adam came in and he wasn't altogether happy with the car. They made quite a number of changes to the suspension setup of the car. I don't know whether Shane will approve of that or not, but he doesn't care. Still managed to nail a 57, but certainly reckon it'll go faster than that before the weekend's over. Talbot goes through again. Can't go any faster. His best so far is a 60.48. That lap was a 61.87. Our top 6 are separated by just over a second, Baz. I'm happy with that.
So am I.
Checkered flag's out to end the session, so hard to imagine anybody's going to go any faster.
We've got a great lineup of cars for the Muscle Car Cup, both under and over. So we've got the under 2 litre and the over 3,500 cc. So full length at pit lane. In fact, it's doubled up down the back.
It's broken into 3 bays. You've got up to 2 litre, 2 litre to 3.5, and over 3.5.
That's why we've got so many in pit lane.
All brought to us by the good people at Thomas Parker Rare Spares.
Baskerville?
Oh, he'd love this.
Yes. A rally man at heart, but enjoys any sort of motorsport.
If it makes noise and it goes fast, it's good.
Yeah, it loves to see them do skids.
Yeah. Yep, well, we all love that.
I'm just looking down at the white Porsche of David Young.
Yeah, still in Targa trim, still got the Targa number on the side of it.
Yes. Came across that car, unfortunately for David, on the Rossarden stage a couple of years ago, and the rear suspension had collapsed, and the rear wheels were splayed out. You've never seen so much negative camber in all your life. He was travelling very slowly, but did the right thing, kept to the left, and we got through, no worries at all. But good to see David out there.
That's not good for a Porsche when that happens.
No, that's why he was going so slow. A man with a lot of experience in karting, of course.
Shut the door, mate.
Chris Temby, good to see him back.
Yeah, haven't seen a lot of Chris in recent times, but it's good to have him back. The V8 Tirana, Leon Bell Automotive, orange number 15 car.
Might as well put Barry in it. He doesn't lift his game, you're in a Capri.
There you go, we got a scoop here. Greg Go, as I said, if Adam doesn't lift your game, Baz, you're in the car.
I see.
Of course, can
you move the seat?
We can do anything. Car won the Australian Targa Championship in the hands of Don Todd, Sam Todd, call him what you will, a few years ago. And has been seen a number of times in the TCM world, being driven by Greg. And Bathurst last year, young Adam got a go at it. Didn't want to give it back. So Anthony McKenzie, now he put together a very tidy lap time this morning. I think he was sort of like about 5th quickest in practice. Certainly there's more cars out there now than there was this morning. So that in itself will make it interesting for getting some track position, Baz. Good thing they've got 20 minutes for qualifying, because it's not going to be easy to get track spaced and put a time down.
No, it's not with that many cars. Actually, I noticed this morning that Anthony's dad, Peter McKenzie, well known over the years as being a superb engine builder, has built engines for a number of people. I remember back to the Turbo 6 engine in Tony Jory's Cortina. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do, yes.
Yes, well, Peter built that. I noticed Peter's down here this weekend keeping an eye on Anthony in that lovely Escort, so good to see. The other car that I noticed just going out, and I'm just searching for it in the program, is Brinsmead in the
BMW, the Mobil-sponsored BMW.
Yeah, it looks absolutely beautiful.
Had a problem yesterday, broke a rocker, and I know they were working very late into the night last night to repair that, so it's good that they're out there. And another car that's been troubled all weekend is Endry Stanton in the Commodore. He's coming into the pits, car number 59, so he's got issues straight away. Jared House is our quick man at the moment, a 59.70. Early days. Garwood now goes to the top with a 58.02. Adam Williams, a 59.32. House, the two Houses. So Jared House in the Tirana, a 59.70. Phil House in the BMW, a 62.30. We know he'll go faster than that. And I reckon these positions will change quite a lot before we're done.
Luke Peters out there in the Datsun 200B Triple S.
That was really quick this morning.
It actually was, and had a word to them. Steph Peters down there, his dad.
Yep.
Overseeing the work, and that car's actually got a Nissan engine running on fuel injection.
Yeah, nice.
So it's very quick, and it's got an independent rear end, which is what the Triple S 2 doors came out with, so good traction. Steph was saying that the system was actually quite sophisticated, so he's doing some very good times as well. Now, coming into the pits at the moment is the Beecher Townsend BMW 635 CSI. Now, that car this morning when I saw it was actually blowing quite a bit of smoke, so I'm hoping that it's not a terminal issue. He's coming to the pits now just to check with Steve Kaplis, who's obviously giving him a hand.
Well, it's always hard to put the smoke back in once it comes out. That's the problem.
Yes, and replace the smoke with some oil.
Yeah. So Webster now jumps up into position 2. So it's Garwood at a 57.63, Webster at a 58.95, then Jared House a 59 flat, Adam Williams a 59.86, Ferguson a 59.46, Phil House a 59.77. So quite a few in the 55s. Not sure. It's... Andy Webster in the Wells Bodyworks Tirana, just heading his way up the hill now. Yesterday was out here and tagged the wall, Baz. Just on the start-finish straight. Not hard, didn't do a lot of damage, but just enough to know that he tagged the wall. Now 56.46 for Garwood.
That's brilliant.
It's quick, isn't it?
It is. It's indecently fast. There you go. But of course we know he's a talent. He's just coming into the pits, by the way.
Caught the crew underwears because they were up here with us. They've raced off down.
Adam Williams just going through in the two-door Tirana.
He currently sits in position number 4. And I said earlier that Anthony McKenzie was doing really well. He's in the pits at the moment. He's 7th outright at the moment. You've got to take that into consideration. He's a 2-litre car, and there's some big hitters here. Absolutely. Big horsepower V8 cars or turbocharged cars. Cody Madden goes through in the Falcon. A 61.14 for him. Nick Riddler, good to see Nick back out too in the AP5 Valiant. Don't see a lot of AP5s racing. Scott Kent, who was a regular in the Tarmac Rally World for a long time, hasn't done a Targa for a while, but he's been down to this event for a number of times now. His last lap was his best, a 62.51. Jared House has got himself into position number 2, a 58.59, 4/10 quicker than Andy Webster. So this is going to shape up, Baz, as a real Holden versus Ford battery. You've got Garwood in the Capri, which has got a Ford badge on it, obviously. Then you got 4 Tiranas in a row. So Holden versus Ford, she's on.
Yep. So Adam's got the pressure on.
He has. He's got 4 Tiranas, and he's the lone Ford man in the top 5 or 6.
But he's got a nice gap.
He does. 56.46 was his qualifying time so far. Still got 12 minutes, a bit over 12 minutes showing in the session. Crew down there obviously just doing some adjustments to the Capri. Run as a Piranha, which is a South African version of the Capri. They came out in South Africa with a 289 Ford V8 in them. Couldn't get them anywhere else in the world. No other country had the Piranha as such. And there's a couple of them. Andrew Madecki's got one very similar to that. They both ran them in the world of Tarmac Rally.
Good to see Nick Riddler out there in the AP5 Valiant.
Yeah, certainly is. Adam Williams comes in. The Williams Mitre 10, the Norfolk Mitre 10 entry comes into the pits for a bit of a check-up. As does Andy Webster, the Wells Bodyworks Tirana. And I know there's some pressure coming on there, Baz. He's young bloke who's out on pit road at the moment. Young Josh, we saw how good a job he did at Simmons Plains a few weeks ago in Hyundai. The pressure's on. He keeps knocking Dad on the arm and saying, Dad, throw me the keys, the Tirana. I want to go up that.
Well, in fact, he was putting pressure on Dad before he got the Hyundai. And I think the Hyundai came as a result of Dad saying, well, I've got to keep him out of this Tirana just at the moment. So,
well, I've got to say, Baz, for a 15-year-old kid, the drive he put up in the wet in that Hyundai at Simmons Plains was outstanding.
Yep.
Just for a young boy.
Yep, tremendous job.
So Adam Garwood back out on track after having a few adjustments made. Wouldn't have been much because they weren't in long.
No.
More horsepower. Scotty Waters comes in. Great to see Scotty back. Hasn't raced for about 3 years. Of course, his father Nev just used to eat, or still does, eat, live, sleep, breathe. Motorsport, the Escort. It's a real family team, and it's great to see Scotty back. He's been very busy trying to get his business up and running, and really pleased to see him back behind the wheel of the car. Anthony McKenzie's been in the pits for a while now in the Escort. Maybe he feels he doesn't need to do any more. He's done 60.16. Hines in the RX-7, he's done a 61.11. So there's a whole run of cars sort of between a high 59 and a very low, or a very high 61. And Peters in that Datsun you were talking about, he's done a 62.14. So that's quick.
That's a good time. Seriously good time.
Sure is. Scotty Kent had enough. He's heading back behind the pit wall in the Mustang, car number 351. Still showing 10 minutes in the session.
Scotty Kent, refueler extraordinaire for
Absolutely.
us in Targa, Tasmania. So always good to see Scotty there at the end of the day or during the day to refuel us.
Dean Tapping in the Datsun 1600 finds himself in the top 10 as well. A 61.55 in the yellow Datsun 1600. Just see it going down through turn 3 now at the bottom of the S's. Making his way to turn 4. He'll run up the hill now. Nice little slide. That'll slow him down a little bit though. Anthony McKenzie's now back out there in the Escort. He's making his way up the hill as well. He goes Garwood across the line. 58.80. So not anywhere near his qualifying best so far.
I just noticed that Anthony McKenzie was a little bit slow out of the left-hander at the bottom of the hill. Might have missed a gear, but he seems to be going fine at the moment. So
he's only just come back out, I think. He's probably just trying to work himself up to some speed. Cody Madden's just spun his best time in the big green Falcon, the XD, XE type Falcon. He's done a 60.79. So he's in the mix there in that group between a 59 and a 61. There's quite a number of cars in that group. Dean Tapping goes through at a 62.09. McKenzie. Yeah, so he's off his pace there, a 62.88. Ferguson. We know that's a quick car. Just not quite playing the game at the moment. A 59.43 on that lap. Garwood goes through a 56.68. So 4 tenths away, or 2 tenths away, sorry, from his best time. Beautifully engineered car, built in Queensland.
Sam Todd.
Yeah, Mick Peoples actually built the car, who used to work with Dick Johnson Racing.
Yes.
As an engineer. Sam
Todd, the big man himself, drove it with great gusto.
Did indeed.
Only knew one way. Flat out or not at all.
There was a deal done between himself and Greg Garwood that involved a car, a plane, some money and a night out on the town.
Well, we've got a problem here for, I think it's the...
Scotty Waters, is it?
Scott Waters car, 141. Now, it may have just been a lock-up as he was trying to slow down for the entry to pit lane. It seems to be going okay, but there was some smoke. I'm going to suggest it was possibly tyre smoke.
And he's gone to pit lane rather than behind the back. There's still 7 minutes in the session. And Peters, he's just outside the top 10, sitting in position 11 at the moment. A best time for him of 61.87 in that little Datsun 200B. McKenzie, where's he sitting now? He is just looking for McKenzie. He is still sitting in position 7. A 60.16 is his best. That's quick. 2 litre car crosses the line now. Has he gone any faster? That is the question. No, a 60.43 that time for him.
Adam Williams, where does he appear?
Adam Williams will be third at the moment in the Mitre 10 Tirana. A 58.83, did it on his last lap. Lap 9 for him.
His father referred to the car as the grotty old girl.
Hope he was talking about the car. Andy Webster comes into the pits, the Wells Bodyworks Tirana. It's been a great car for him. Goes behind the pit wall. Cody Madden comes back out in the Falcon. Still 5.5 minutes left in the session. Sam Hines puts down another lap. He's currently 9th. His best is the 61.11. McKenzie goes across the line. Does his fastest lap. A 60.0052. So almost into the 59s. In a 2 litre Escort. That's fast.
That is extremely fast. Good grief, I can't remember an escort doing that sort of time.
I can think of one, and that would be Scott Willing. And I'm just trying to think. Under 2 litre. The lap record for an under 2 litre improved production car, which is what that is held by Gavin Reynolds in a Honda Civic set in 2012, a 58.66.
You're kidding me.
I'm not. It's written down. It's on the sheet.
Whew. Excuse me.
If you don't mind.
I must have missed that meeting.
So Peter's still in 11th, Nick Riddler is 12th, then Scott Kent. Stuart Brinsmead in the BMW, the mobile BMW. Oh, Scotty Waters got all sorts of dramas here. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Well, I mentioned smoke
Yeah,
when he
you
was
did.
coming into pit lane, and I assumed that it might have been a wheel lock-up as he braked to come into the pits. He went into pit lane, he's gone back onto the circuit, and there's still some smoke coming out of the back of the car. So let's hope that's not terminal.
Well, let's hope so, because I know they had an engine failure here a month ago. Brand new engine, had a failure on day number 1. Rebuilt a new motor for this weekend, so yeah, fingers crossed that everything's okay in there. Garwood's been into the pits again, he's headed back out. He still sits on pole with a 56.46 as his best time. On the limiter, car number 24. Bates, the Tirana. Keeping a bit of an eye on Cody Madden. I saw him out there, looked like he was on a bit of a flyer in the big green Falcon. Here he comes now, currently sitting in position number 8. His best time is 60.79. Crosses the line now. Does he go any quicker? No. 61.11 for Cody Madden. A lot of experience in the world of speedway.
Well, if Adam Garwood wants to go faster, this is going to be his best opportunity, because a number of cars have come into the pits or are coming into the pits, so
Yep.
he's got a clear track at the moment.
Yeah, a lot less traffic on the road there now as Sam Hines goes behind the wall, the RX-7, car number 35. His session is done. He's currently sitting in position number 9. His best time is 61.11. There's 3 minutes left in the session.
Scott Waters has come into the pits. He's bypassed pit lane.
Gone straight behind the wall, so his session is run. Looks like Bates in the Tirana is also now in. Cody Madden's still out there in the Falcon, trying to put together a lap time, move himself up. Currently sitting in 8th. Would love to move up a couple of spots on the grid. Fly the forward flag. What's he got? Can't go any faster. He's close though. He was 9 tenths away. A 60.87. Adam Garwood goes 56.52, so he's still not quite as fast as his quickest time, but not far away.
Only 6/100ths of a second, isn't it?
Yeah, 6/100ths. Looks like Greg's told him to pull the pin on it and put it away. With 2 minutes left in the session, Chris Temby back out there now in the Tirana, the 4-door LH Tirana. Good to see Chris out there having a run. Dean Tapping in the little yellow Datsun 1600. Been around racing a long time now, Dean Tapping.
Yes, he has. Goes back many years.
And pretty much always been in Datsuns, hasn't he?
Yes, correct. So we've got an early start tomorrow, folks, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
First event, and it's an actual race. It's Group S, SB and SC, and invited, courtesy of the MG Car Club of Tasmania. And I've got to say, congratulations to the Hobart Sporting Car Club and the MG Car Club for their joint efforts in putting this meeting together.
Yeah, and throw into there as well the Mini Car Club, because they're involved
Of
in
course,
making it happen,
yes.
and the Sports Rider Motorcycle guys, because that's a 4-club
Yes,
conglomerate that make this show happen. It's a massive show, and for one club to do it would be just too hard.
I couldn't possibly do it. I'm surprised that Donald Potter is
Sane?
is here today and still sane.
Well, I'm not sure he's sane.
There's a few others though. There's Mike Ellis, there's Peter Killick, and we could go on and on and
Yeah,
on.
you could. Yep, there's been a lot of people involved in making this show happen. People like Bruce Thomas has been heavily involved in this, and yeah, the list goes on of people. It's dangerous to start naming names because we'll miss somebody.
Yes. Yes, you're right.
So we'll just say thank you to everybody that's been involved.
Yes.
It's going to be a great day tomorrow, Baz. There's no practice, there's no qualifying, there's no mucking around. From the first green light, it's races all day, and same again on Sunday. So we're set for 2 massive days of racing. I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic.
56 events.
Yep. So just run me through tonight, Baz, because you've got a big night coming up.
Yes, tonight, 7 for 7:30, for those that are wondering. It's in the Wellington Room at the casino, and I will have the great pleasure and the honour, I've got to